wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wrestle Talk Podcast right here on Facebook and all avenues of social media. I want to welcome each and every one of you tuning in this evening. Tonight, we're going to be joined by the one-man zoo himself, L-Ride, here at about 8:15. We're also going to have the High Spot segment, the Snippets of Truth, the FWWC, and so much more. But before we get things started tonight, I want to go ahead and bring in my broadcast colleague, longtime friend of mine, the one, the only Justin Wade. Justin, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Justin.
Good, man. I'm having a great. Go ahead. No.
Yeah, you're good to go, my friend. Like I said, that's the wonders of technology. We're across the globe, we're across the country, and we're able to hear each other loud and clear throughout this wonderful thing we call the internet. Now, for those of you that may or may not know, usually here at the Wrestle Talk Podcast, we make it a point to encourage you to join in on the program. Make sure you log in so we can see the names. We got a lot of people already talking about wanting to see the one-man zoo L-Ride here in just a little over an hour's time. Again, as a reminder, we want to go ahead and give you a shout-out. If you're watching tonight's program, make it a point. Hashtag WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. Make sure that you share that information with all your friends because tonight's going to be another action-packed show. Now, before we get started with the national anthem, as we always do each and every week, we need to take a couple minutes here. We weren't able to last week. We had a very busy show last week. We want to talk about something very important. As we know full well here, there have been several passings in the world of professional wrestling. The first one I want to talk about is the passing of Peggy Lee Leather, well-known, very accomplished women's wrestler. Passed away, and thank you for our tech department for being able to get a photo up on that. Passed away here in the last few days. Also, as we're going to pull up the graphic here in just a moment, another man passed away just a couple weeks ago. Been having a lot of health issues over the course of the past few years. A man, I hope I can get this right because I always mess this one up. I know, Justin, you'll love this man too from all the studying you did of him. But let's see if I get it right. He lifted T-bone steaks. He lifted barbell plates. He was sweeter than a German chocolate cake. The one and only superstar Billy Graham passing away over the course of the last few days. And Justin, I got to ask you, you and I are not only fans of professional wrestling, but we've studied professional wrestling for many, many years. What are your thoughts about the legendary superstar Billy Graham?
Well, we all think, the be-all, the end-all was Hulk Hogan, and Sting and Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Macho Man Randy Savage. But if you think about it, the most flamboyant of them all would have been superstar Billy Graham. Without the Nature Boy Ric Flair, seeing him, just the Bonnie Ventura took, everybody takes from everybody coming through the industry. I tried to take from, who I wanted to mimic careers of. I took from Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Kurt Angle to the best of my abilities and my wrestling abilities. I tried to do that, So without superstar Billy Graham, we wouldn't have the Hulkamaniacs. We wouldn't have the history of wrestling that we do now. That's what a lot of people don't realize, how much he influenced. And until Roman Reigns hit the picture, you got to think about it. Roman Reigns is the longest reigning heel heavyweight champion of all time in the WWE. But before the first ever long reigning heel heavyweight champion was the superstar Billy Graham when he beat Bruno Sammartino in '77. He almost had it for a full year and he lost it to Bobby Backlund in '78. So it's he's a history maker with the hit maker, set maker. He just it's a big loss.
Well, and Justin, like I said, that's why you are such a valuable asset to the Wrestle Talk podcast, being able to document those histories. And even though, and we're going to pull it up here, Jared making a comment here, and hopefully we can get this put up here before we continue on. You might think that Roman Reigns isn't the best wrestler in the world, but Justin did bring up a very valid point in the idea of where, when it comes down to it, eclipsing a record of the likes of superstar Billy Graham as far as being one of the longest reigning bad guy, so to speak, heavyweight champion in the history of the WWF, WWE, however you want to call it. That gives kudos, and it's a step before so many men emulated the trail that superstar Billy Graham set. Another one, as you're well aware, somebody that we made many references to over the course of years here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, and that is the one, the only, the man from Iran himself, the Iron Sheik. And I got to tell you, Justin, I mean, this man right here, to me, was the one that really, I almost want to say that he basically gave us the same kind of a reaction as when Ivan Koloff defeated Bruno Sammartino. He gave us that same reaction when he defeated Bob Backlund for the WWF championship. And I got to tell you right now, whether it was in singles action, tag team action, one thing you always got from the Iron Sheik was you got a professional inside the ring. He was accomplished amateur wrestler, AAU champion, WWF champion, WWF tag team champion. I mean, there's a lot to say about the Iron Sheik. And Justin, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you, because I know you and I have had many discussions about the beginning of the Rock and Wrestling connection, and the Iron Sheik was right there at the forefront.
I got a lot to say about him as well. If it wasn't for what he did in January, I believe, of 1984, we wouldn't have again, Hulk Hogan, for what he did when he beat Bobby Backlund a month prior, I believe in December of '83, and lost the belt to Hogan in January of '84. So he held the belt for maybe a month if he was lucky. It was the US of A against Iran. That's and it was almost facsimile to what the NWA had with Magnum TA and the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. So without the Sheik, what he did for that night, a lot of people don't remember him for that. They remember him for what he did, in the last 15, 20 years of his life, his interviews, his rants, his social media presence. But when it comes down to it, they need to remember him, for what he did when he beat Bobby Backlund back in '83, and it paved the way for the start of Hulkamania.
That is true. And again, Jared, thank you for chiming in here. I wonder what would have happened if he wouldn't have defeated Bob Backlund. Would he have been as successful? I'm going to tell you right now, I think he would have been. But as Justin said, without the Iron Sheik, you don't have the birth of Hulkamania. It's as simple as that. And I think the Iron Sheik was the perfect transition to lead us to the Hulkamania era, to lead us to the WrestleMania era of professional wrestling. Now, the last person we want to talk about here, and I know my broadcast colleague Chris Rodell and I had a lot of dealings with this man. It was just brought to us literally right before we went to broadcast. I want to say probably at best 2 hours ago, and details are still coming in. We don't know all the specifics yet, but a man who really impacted my early career, and that's saying something, because that's pushing 30 plus years ago. A gentleman by the name of the Punisher was a man who wrestled in the MVWA, wrestled in Central States, the Central States Wrestling Alliance. I believe he wrestled in the RCW. Had an opportunity several years ago When I got back in the ring, I wrestled a man by the name, and I know you're going to laugh. He went by the name of Kurt Styles. Some knew him as Kiwi Jello. You know Styles far too well.
I know him. He was a referee too. He was a good referee.
Yeah, and
did you train him in refereeing?
That is true. But like I said, we talk about the Punisher. He was a great man inside the ring. He didn't let you get away with much. I mean, here's a man who for years is one of the things I always remember in my years in the pro wrestling industry, was the man who would wear a middle finger shirt to the ring. Now, in today's world, that's not necessarily the most appropriate thing. He'd come out wearing wrestling boots and jeans, and a lot of times he'd have his fist taped up like it was time to go. But one thing is, the Punisher was really one of the most caring people I ever had the opportunity to meet inside or outside the ring. Again, I don't know a lot. The best way to summarize it to me, and I remember, Justin, you remember watching this when we had this discussion, was when Bobby Heenan acknowledged the late Gorilla Monsoon. And
I remember that.
To me, this has really hit me and several others of my friends in the wrestling industry very hard. Like I said, I don't have a lot of specifics. I know a little information will be coming out in the next couple days, but like I said, it was a great in-ring competitor. I'll tell you right now, I would have put the Punisher up against anybody. He was that good. He was a quick wit. He was very knowledgeable in the ring. One of the very few men I know, and again, back in the days of VHS, this was a man that was studying 8mm tape. I mean, he was going back and looking at 50s and 60s and 70s wrestling, not just the stuff where a lot of people, I'll see it on TV and I want to emulate it the next week. The Punisher was consistently studying old footage. He was getting in the ring, and he was putting move sets together that would just amaze people. And like I said, for everyone that we've talked about tonight, the Wrestle Talk podcast would like to extend their deepest condolences and sympathies tonight in retrospect here. And we're going to hope that this works properly. And hope our tech guys have got it here. I think we still have a 10 bell salute. I'm going to go ahead and double check here just to make sure that we have that available here. I think that the 10 bell is there. I'm just double checking right now to make sure that we do have that available. We've been having some slight issues with our software. Actually, it's more just making sure that it will run smoothly. We want to be respectful of all those that have come forward and have unfortunately passed away in the last few days. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and pay homage to all those male and female that have passed away. We're going to go ahead and observe a moment of silence for all those individuals: Peggy Lee Leather, Superstar Billy Graham, the Iron Sheik, and the Punisher, who have all passed away recently. Once again, on behalf of the Wrestle Talk podcast, we want to send our condolences to all those that have been impacted by these recent passings. And I know over the course of the evening, we're going to hear a lot about all those individuals. Please make sure to share your thoughts, your comments, your memories about all these individuals with the Wrestle Talk podcast here tonight. We're going to try to get those up as quick as we can and make sure that we've got everything taken care of and let the fans know what's up. Also, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure that we are sharing this program tonight. We've been making lots of huge strides, getting more and more viewers each and every week. We appreciate that. But also, in addition to all those great viewers who are watching at home right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, we would also be remiss if we didn't thank our great sponsors, without who the Wrestle Talk podcast does not go on the air each and every week. Without these great sponsors, we do not exist. Just like the fans, we're going to go ahead and bring those across the bottom of the screen. We got Royal Mills Transportation, The CEO himself, Dewan Mills. If you need any vehicles, you need any wheels in Kansas City, he's your guy. Rathbun Engraving, home of those great Wrestle Talk Podcast mugs, available for $20 for purchase. Just check us out, Wrestle Talk Podcast, on social media. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, Kansas City, Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. Our great friends over at Interstate 70 Sports Media. Little Popeye Designs, home of those great Wrestle Talk Podcast tumblers, also available for purchase. You can check us out online. And the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group, who will be joining us here in the 8 o'clock hour here this evening. So if you're a part of the FWWC, we will be joined by representatives here tonight on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now, Justin, I got to tell you, and we're going to go ahead here and we're going to take care of the national anthem here in just a minute. I want to get your thoughts on some things. I know you got a lot on your mind tonight.
Well, I'm sorry, Rob. You cut out for a second. We're having cutouts here from time to time. Can you just go ahead and repeat what you said?
Like I said, I was going to throw things to you because I know you got a lot on your mind. What are you looking forward to on tonight's program?
Well, just talking about the high spots. We got some big shows coming up. I got some notes here for those shows, stuff that happened last week, stuff that happened yesterday, what's going to happen this week, and what's going to be happening soon. But before we, let's lighten the mood a little bit here. Just give me a second here. Let me do some things here. Road Dog, could you pop up on the screen real quick, if you don't mind? Just briefly, if you don't have a problem with that. Is he there?
He should be. Like I say, it's one of those where we're trying to keep everything going here tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Just briefly, there. Okay, there. Okay, so I got that picture. If we can get the Road Dog to pop in real quick, I wanted to see if we.
What did I do?
You did not do anything, but the video you posted yesterday to promote the show, I thought I was looking at the sequel to Teen Wolf when I saw your face pop up on screen. And that's why I asked you to so we could do 2 and 2, to put 2 and 2 together to see if this is actually you from the 1985 classic, or if you're just letting your hair, if it's just
one, it's a lot because I need to shave and I need to get a haircut. So
well, it was beautiful. There we are. Look at you. It's a spitting damn image. I thought, look at you, sexy beast. I was, I was taken aback when I saw it. So I just had I thought this would lighten the mood. After,
something, Justin? I want to throw it this way. We need to talk to somebody in some marketing department, especially the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I mean, we have had meetings in the last few days. Why can't we make it a point to put this or Chris's face on a T-shirt? I know there are people in the Wrestle Talk Podcast family that would want a big, sexy Chris Rodell T-shirt.
Big sexy Road Dog. I would pay for a T-shirt. Yeah, see, everybody, we're already getting. It's Rodell. See, they think that's you. It's a good-looking man. So you just got a little hair.
It's proof that Chris Rodell is in high demand. That's what it is.
See,
no one wants a picture with my face on it. So,
excuse me, I've seen you sign dozens, and I do mean dozens of autographs at Dynamo Pro shows. You are in high demand, sir.
I can count on one hand how many autographs I've signed in my career, and most of the time it would probably be more. But every time I've been asked is when they catch me at bad times. But mostly at gas stations or restaurants. I'm trying to do something, and I don't know if it's a debt collector or what. So I said no.
Have you ever signed an autograph in a Walmart? I have.
Yes, I have.
Sweet. I'm not alone in this one. Now, like I said, we're going to go ahead real quick here. Chris,
I'm going backstage.
Here. We're going to go ahead at this time, as we do each and every week, to make sure everything's ready to rock and roll. We've talked about our sponsor. We've talked about our great viewers. Please make sure to share the program. Hashtag WTP. Hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling. But before we get too much farther along here tonight, let's go ahead and pay homage to the United States of America. If you please remove your hats, place your hands over your heart as we pay homage to the United States of America. Let's take it away.
God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Roseanne, as we share each and every week here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, we want to send a special shout out to, and I know, Justin, this is something very important to you as well. Want to send a shout out to all those great first responders, all those emergency personnel, all those men and women in uniform defending our country each and every week so we can bring you such quality programming right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, we got a great show. And Justin was right on point talking about a lot of things in the world of high spots, a lot of things in the world of pro wrestling. So let's go ahead, hit that high spots music, and let's get into it right here tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk podcast. DJ Money. Yeah.
There we are.
Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like flare chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a running speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops like a clock flash, look like a belly flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk podcast. Now they know we about to start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to DJ Money for bringing us in with the High Spots team. If you need anything, if you need intro music, you need graphic design, you name it, make it a point to check out G Money, your DJ Money, the one, the only, who can be bringing forth all those great things for you. You can check him out through the Wrestle Talk podcast Facebook account. You can get lots of great information, and he's very, very cost effective, and he's also very quick with his turnaround. If you need anything, make it a point. DJ Money bringing us that high spot segment. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, there's lots of stuff to talk about tonight here in the professional wrestling world. So let's go ahead, hit that randomizer, and get that first topic up here tonight for the high spot segment. All right. Ooh, and what a question to start out with. With Forbidden Door around the corner, what is the possibility of CM Punk versus Kenta add to your decision to purchasing the pay-per-view? Justin, I know that you are a huge fan of wrestling all across this globe, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this to you. What are your thoughts about CM Punk versus Kenta? And without going into too much details, I know we're going to talk about it later on tonight, your thoughts about Forbidden Door coming up on the 25th.
First of all, I want to know what is the platform for us to be able to get Forbidden Door? Do you have to have any type of apps, or what's the deal? Because I don't see it.
You can get it on, I believe it's on Bleacher Report through your social media. I think you can also get it through Fight TV. You can also, and this sounds strange as it sounds, you can get it on pay-per-view.
Okay,
that's
so
something that's gone by the wayside in our careers.
My first pay-per-view, 1993, WrestleMania 9. I got to see Yokozuna take the belt from Brett, and then Hulkster taking the storylines in his own hands, taking the belt off Yoko. That was my first big memory of pay-per-view wrestling. Anyways, not to blow wind here, but I don't need CM Punk versus, it's going to be exciting. CM Punk versus Kenta, it's the battle of the go-to-sleeps. Kenta saying that, in the dirt sheets that Punk didn't even ask to use the move. He just started using it. We got Danielson against, oh my goodness, I can't even say the guy's name. Danielson against who is it?
Okada?
Okada, yes. Those two matches alone, make me want to buy the pay-per-view. But having a three main events on the card, we don't even need to know the rest of the card. It's going to be great. But adding that is butching up the pay-per-view to get buys, and I think that would, if that match does make it is true that match happens, it's going to be hopefully a huge buy rate for this pay-per-view.
Well, I got to tell you right now, I definitely could agree with you, Justin. I mean, again, just the idea of Ospreay Omega and Okada versus Danielson alone, those two matches our main event, and I'm going to use a Meltzer term here. And you know me, I don't acknowledge Dave Meltzer too often. These are going to be 5-star matches.
Yes.
As the Night Owl would say, these are going to both be 5 super kicks. If there's a way to make them 6 super kicks, he probably would. They have all the potential in the world. And if you get, and again, this is going to be one of those things that's really kind of unique. It's all going to stem on Collision this coming Saturday. It's all going to depend on how that reaction is. And I'm going to tell you right now, if we get CM Punk and Kenta, I would be very remiss if we didn't see a large quantity of pay-per-views. And you got to look at it too. It's also going to be leading in to the event. I believe they're calling it All In London, which is going to be taking place on August 1st. I mean, if you got this now, how do you top that in less than a month's time when you've got 35, 40,000 people in Wembley Stadium for that event in a little over a month's time? It's going to be, I mean, again, this pay-per-view really, to me, has the opportunity. And I don't normally order a lot of stuff online, but this is one that has all the potential of me that I'm going to get my popcorn. I'm going to get my wonderful, probably my 32-ounce soda. I'm probably going to get my popcorn. I might even grill up some hot dogs and hamburgers, and I'm going to sit on my couch, and I'm going to watch AEW because, to me, this event is going to deliver.
You know, if you did certain shows back in the day, the payment form was hot dogs, so you wouldn't have to make hot dogs the next day for the pay-per-view. You just take the payment of hot dogs for the pay-per-view. That was a joke that I don't think flew by too well. Thank you, Luke, for not responding. Anyways, yeah, I hope this show is hot because I'm worried that I hope they can make Wembley Stadium look full when the pay-per-view comes for All In. I'm a little nervous about that. This is because I know a month prior, Luke, are they holding Money in the Bank in London?
Yeah, they're holding Money in the Bank. I don't remember where the venue is. We'll look that up here in a little bit. But I got to tell you right now, both brands, both AEW and the WWE, are doing everything they can to deliver stellar events right now.
Yes.
And,
oh my goodness, yes.
This is one of those where
spoiled right now.
The WWE's got to step up and bring their A game, as well as AEW as well. And thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Money in the Bank is going to be in the O2. I'm going to tell you right now, to me, I am more intrigued with the AEW event in London. But that's going to be a discussion we're going to have over the course of the next few weeks to get things taken care of as well. So we've got that there. Let's go ahead real quick. Well, we got a lot of topics here to talk about. Again, as a reminder, we've been getting a lot of messages here. The one-man zoo, L Ride, is going to be joining us. And go ahead and throw it back up here.
Throw it up there.
With Forbidden Door around the corner, how great is it to be a wrestling fan? I'm going to tell you this, and this is my simple put. 2 thumbs up. AEW has put 2 matches together that are going to deliver. Money in the Bank matches. A lot of people don't like them. I do. It gives a lot of interest to what's going on. Plus, you have the who's going to be the next tag team to go up against the team of Zayn and Owens. You've got a lot of things going on in the WWE, and I'm going to tell you right now, and again, bring up this last comment here real quick. And thank you, Jared. You are on the ball tonight, my friend. He's more interested in Money in the Bank because the men's Money in the Bank has no one that's won the championship, that's won that Money in the Bank briefcase. That's a very great point. And thank you for sharing that, Jared. Again, if you're watching the program and you've got comments, put them in the comment section. We'll get you up here right now on the program. Justin, your thoughts here.
My thoughts before you have a stroke. My thoughts.
Okay.
My thoughts. We are very, very spoiled right now to be a wrestling fan. Both companies are going on all cylinders trying to get the fan base. It's almost feeling like it's not a competition, but it is. I'm getting some old, they're not saying these are the Monday Night Wars again, but hey, they're doing everything they can to get fans. I think it's going to be a good deal. AEW got CM Punk back. That's You know, they got CM Punk, Samoa Joe, John Moxley, you know, all these guys that put on stellar matches. You know, WWE with this Money in the Bank coming up, I'm looking forward to it. You know, Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Ricochet. Ricochet is, I don't remember. And what's up, Sonny Money? So, yeah, we got Money in the Bank. We got Forbidden Door. We got the next Impact pay per view coming up. They're doing some awesome things right now. Ring of Honor, they got Matt Sydal against Samoa Joe this week for the television title. Now, it stinks that you got to have the Ring of Honor app to watch it, but just knowing that that match is going to happen, it feels like you're going to a Ring of Honor show 10 years ago when those guys were performing Ring of Honor 10 years ago. So just right now, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. Some of the storylines might not be going your way, but you know, as a wrestling fan, you'll get what, hey, what's up, man? What's up, Tim? But you know, I'm looking forward to the summer of wrestling, so to speak.
And again, right now we're getting up people from all over the place. Again, thank you for sharing your comments and connecting in here tonight. This is what makes Wrestle Talk so great, is people are connecting in, making comments. Aaron Wallace joining us in here. We had he left the Joe Lance reference earlier on tonight.
Hey Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Bringing a tear to the eye. Aaron Wallace here on the program tonight. I gotta tell you right now, this is gonna be a great time, not just for Forbidden Door, not just for Money in the Bank, not just for All In. But pro wrestling as a whole, there's a lot of things going on. And again, if you're a wrestling fan, this is a great time to be involved with pro wrestling. Now, let's go ahead and throw that next high spots question up here. We still got plenty of time on the high spots. Let's go ahead and throw it up here. Woo! Going to Impact Wrestling, something we haven't talked about in a while. What's in store for Impact with new champion Alex Shelley leading the charge? Justin, I'm going to throw this to you.
Bring it to me.
I got my own point on this one.
When I first saw Alex Shelley, Genesis 2005, it was an 8-man elimination tag match. Now, I can't remember all of the names, but on one side it had Chris Sabin, Samoa Joe, I believe Christopher Daniels. On the other side it had Alex Shelley, Sanjay Dutt. It was the first time I've ever seen these guys. And, you know, Samoa Joe was in his first year with TNA. He won the match, but they went for over 30 minutes in an elimination bout. And seeing Alex Shelley win the heavyweight title the other day, it makes me smile because the man has put in the work. And I love it that they're going with an OG original from this company. And seeing Chris Sabin win the X Division title for the 9th time, it's you know what, those two are gonna take this company into the summer in a good way. I can't wait for Josh Alexander to come back because in my head he's an incarnate of Kurt Angle, in my opinion. I love his work, but I think Impact Wrestling is in good hands right now with Shelley. He's taken on former NWA heavyweight champion. Good God bless it. I just had to I can't remember his name. Rob, you know who the hell I'm talking about. The NWA former heavyweight champ, Nick Aldis. Son of a bitch, I got it. Sorry to get your dogs going. But no, he's taking on Nick Aldis next, and that match I think is going to tear. We got a bunch of barn burning matches right now coming up, you know, with Money in the Bank. We got, you know, Forbidden Door. Impact's going to put on a barn burner. Anytime Chris Sabin's in a match, he's going to be defending that title, and he's going to tear the house down. There's some, you know, there's some good competitors in Impact Wrestling for that belt. Alex Shelley taking on Nick Aldis for the title next. Aldis won it was called an 8-4-1 match back at this last pay-per-view for them, where it was an 8-man tag, and the winners of that 8-man tag squared off in a fatal 4-way. And the winners of that match, which was Nick Aldis, he became the number 1 contender for that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this summer for Impact Wrestling with those two at the helm, Shelley and Sabin.
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm a little bit impartial on a lot of things.
Yes, Aaron.
I'm say impartial, but I want to go back to 2007. Now you're going to sit there and say, Luke, where in the world are you going with this?
I went to
I had an
2005. You go ahead, brother.
2007, a match that happened here in St. Louis. Alex Shelley made his debut here in the St. Louis area, and he took on a man that was grossly overrated or underrated. I was going to say overrated. He's a phenomenal in-ring competitor. I really wish I'd be in contact with him more. And that was Nightmare Nick Tyson for the Lethal Wrestling Alliance, LWA, now known as St. Louis Anarchy. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes down to it, in 2007, being the third man in the ring for that matchup, there were two things that I took from that match. Number one was Nightmare Nick Tyson was overly underrated.
Yes.
Until that night. And he proved that he belonged in the upper echelon in the St. Louis wrestling scene. And number two, even back then, I look at it from a perspective of Alex Shelley is going to be a top tier guy. He was already in Impact Wrestling at the time. I think he was doing some ROH stuff as well. But to see Alex Shelley as the Impact World Champion, it makes me feel good. And it also makes me look at the idea with Chris Sabin being the Impact X Division champion. You've got two of the most, and again, these aren't guys that have been in just a few years now. You're looking at men who've been in the wrestling industry for pushing 20 years now. And you've got two phenomenal in-ring competitors. I'm going to tell you right now, you talked about the idea of Josh Alexander. Steve Macklin obviously deserves an opportunity. Nick Aldis deserves an opportunity. PCO deserves an opportunity. Me personally, I think Eddie Edwards deserves an opportunity. There are, and again, we look at the idea of somebody like, and this is kind of one that's not going to be normally talked about too much, and that is the one, the only Brian Myers. I think you have to put him in the picture as well. The most professional wrestler himself. Right now, Impact Wrestling has a lot of wrestlers who are
you know what?
capable of holding that championship. And with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin leading the charge, Impact Wrestling is going to turn some heads. I think
you're going to laugh at me, but for some reason, I think that PCO and Alex Shelley could put on a hell of a bout. You know, PCO's in Impact Wrestling at the moment, and I know he's a tank of a man, but man, I think he could put on a match with the Shelley and tear the house down. I really do. It's just my opinion. So I'm excited. You know, you got your matches you want to see in Impact. I got my matches I want to see in Impact. I'm not going to lie. I thought the other night Sabin was going to turn on Shelley. I know you say Shelley's more of the heel, but it would have been very, very interesting to see the course they take if Sabin was to turn. I'm glad they hadn't turned, but I thought it was going to happen. It's just going to be a real interesting summer, all across the board, professional wrestling. And you were just talking about Nick Tyson. The blood runs deep in independent pro wrestling in St. Louis. I don't think people realize how instrumental a handful of guys are in the last 20, 25 years in the Midwest right now. And it's just crazy. Like Rob, when you were talking about Nick Tyson, I got goosebumps, not because of, I don't know Nick Tyson personally. I've seen him, but I got goosebumps because I was thinking maybe, some years from now, you and me sitting across from one another, having a brewski with Rodell, Teen Wolf's dad, sitting with us, having a brewski, talking about the lineage of St. Louis wrestling. And we could fill hours probably with that talk.
Well, you know something, and I'm going to put it out here right now because that was one of two. The other matchup was Nightmare Nick Tyson and Dingo. I mean, right there's a team for teams right there.
Yeah.
Taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, my God. I didn't even know that happened. What? I'm not going to lie to you. Whenever I would enter a female relationship, I tended to forget about things in my life because I wasn't really a Don Juan out there. So I don't remember this match much, and I wish I could have seen it. I'm sure it's on tape.
It's on the YouTube.
That match alone would have been phenomenal to see.
And you know something right now? I know the given circumstances here in St. Louis Anarchy and Dingo and the Dingo Invitational and Dingo coming back for a contest here. And oh, goody. Talking about the history and the lineage of professional wrestling, and now we get the snitch. Well, I'll just go ahead and take him off the screen for the time being, because I'm going to talk about some wrestling from in the day. I'm going to tell you right now, besides the idea of Nightmare Nick Tyson being grossly underrated, I also want to go from the idea of the Submission Squad as well.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of those in that group that were phenomenal in-ring competitors all the way around. I also want to give a shout out. I just got the message, and thank you, Night Owl. Night Owl, Renee Martinez checking in here tonight on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Even though he's not hosting, he's still here. He's still around. I'm going to tell you right now, and I know, Justin, we had an opportunity to talk about this tail end of last week. Want to give a shout out to a man. A lot of people don't necessarily agree with his in-ring opinions, I guess would be the best way to put it. But when it comes down to it, I want to give a shout out to Evan Jalistico. I want to give him a shout out. Best of wishes. And
he's been in the business for a while too.
Yeah,
he's still running strong with Anarchy.
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, I'm not going to go into huge detail because I again, one of those, I respect professional privacy, but I know he's encountered some pretty massive health issues over the last few days. Again, want to give him a shout out. Best of wishes. We're thinking of you, buddy. Keep doing what you got to do. Get better. And like I said, we're going to hopefully see you sooner rather than later around the world of professional wrestling. Because this man, when it comes down to it, he is a very sharp wit. And a lot of people would say it, whether it was the Submission Squad or the Commission. Okay, there's the Metro Pro reference there for those that are in the KC area. The Commission. Great tag team.
Yeah, and you got to throw in there Pierre Abernathy, correct? With the Submission
Pierre
Squad.
Abernathy, and there were a lot that were in there too. I mean, you talk about people like Spitfire Davey Vega. I mean, look at what he's accomplished. I mean, there's a lot of great wrestlers that came from that time period, and I'm going to tell you, a lot of great things have taken place. And here's my own personal wish list, and I would love to see it in 2020. Thank you, Aaron, for bringing out too. Aaron Lawrence as well, bringing up Athena was a part of the Submission Squad at one point. Is now the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to put it this way. I hope that I could see in 2023. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I hope it would happen. I haven't talked to him in a good long while. Let's see the rematch. Let's see Alex Shelley take on Nightmare Nick Tyson. I want to see it. It's that
it'd be very, very, very entertaining.
It would be, like I said, both men are great in-ring competitors. I would love to see that match happen. And again, if by chance anybody that's here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, make it a point to let Nick Tyson know that I was making sure to represent him here tonight.
Alex Shelley.
One of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling, especially in St. Louis. And just for the record, where I am in my office,
it's like 60 degrees in your house.
Yeah, it's like 62 degrees in my office. Yes. So we're just going to leave the hoodie right there. And also, again,
Long Story
Pro this Saturday in Pacific. Forces of Destruction. You can get tickets available through social media. You can also get tickets at the door as well. Luke, and also, Jared, we're going to put the message up here, Jared, just so you know right now. And let's hope the Mankind Lunchbox will be shipping out this week. You know what we're talking about. Thank you for your participation. We're not even going to acknowledge the snitch right now because he's been getting aggravated. Come on, guys. What's the deal here? Can't he just leave us alone for one show? One show. All I ask, one show. But it is what it is, and we're going to roll with that. Right now, again, we're going to have the FWWC here in about 15 minutes. We're going to have the Snippets of Truth. We're also going to have the one-man Zoo El Rai joining us at about 8:15. Let's go ahead and throw another high spots up there. We got some time to talk about wrestling. Ooh. We might be able to get another one in here because we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier on. In your opinion, which pay-per-view is more meaningful, Money in the Bank or All In?
All In.
Justin?
All In. I do apologize, but anytime that since SummerSlam 92, anytime they've had a pay-per-view over in London, it's felt like a televised house show. And I'm not putting my money into Money in the Bank. All In, this is going to make them or break them. If this is big. They need this to work. And I've seen that they've filled a lot of seats, but I've heard that in the last month that daily they're selling about 100 tickets a day, and those need to pick up if they want to sell that out. I really hope they get close to selling out. I don't believe they will, but All In, they are going all in with this pay-per-view at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, you know something, Justin? I just want to throw this one out here, and then we're going to move on because we kind of talked about this one a little bit. I want to look at this one here. And again, if you want to add comments to this, go ahead in the chat. Here's my question. What is Cody Rhodes thinking?
Oh, my God.
What do you think he's thinking right now, knowing All In is going to take place in Wembley Stadium? He knew that AEW was going to be a big thing. But to be in the other company, now looking and seeing that All In, I think last time was I want to say 35,000 seats sold in Wembley.
That's a lot.
That's a lot for a promotion that's not the WWE. I mean, again, he's got to be looking back, even though he lost at WrestleMania, he's still in the championship picture. Well, you got to admit, there's a lot of people in the championship picture, especially on Raw right now.
Cody's got some hurdles right now. They got him against Dominic coming up at the pay-per-view. I'm hoping this is less than 5 minutes. It's a squash to make Cody look strong. I know Rhea Ripley might be getting involved. That's how I feel, but I really hope that Cody gets past. I have a feeling though he's going to run into the biggest goddamn wall leading into SummerSlam, and Brock Lesnar is going to rear his ugly head once again before the summer's over with Cody. So
that is true. Well, like I said, let's go ahead here. We're going to be waiting here just a few minutes for, as we see Jared's comment here, as we're going to see here, we're going to have Big Daddy P and the Snippets of Truth, and we're going to have the FWWC here in just a few moments. Let's go ahead and throw one more question up here before we are joined by our first of several special guests, including L Ride at 8:15. Does Charlotte have the right to challenge Asuka for the title, or should she get in line and compete in Money in the Bank? I want to see what the comments here say. Justin, this is you.
I believe Charlotte's way past nepotism. I don't believe that her father has any stakes in what she does now. I say that she does have the right because she is the nature boy of her division and of her era. She is, I don't know what number title she has, but she's probably close to the record for women's title. And she is the be all to end all when it comes to the women's division. When you think of the big matches that have happened since 2015, it's Charlotte all across the board. It's a little frustrating. Like John says, Charlotte is the line. And, I posted that question because I wanted to see what everybody's thoughts were. I have no problem seeing Charlotte defend challenge against Asuka. I like to have seen her challenge against Bayley, or I'm not Bayley, against Rhea Ripley. But I believe that the match she had with Ripley when she lost the belt, she figured that Ripley wasn't one to be messed with. So she's going on to the next champion. So but Asuka, man, Asuka, she's dangerous, and I would be very, 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 very. I'd walk lightly around Asuka when it comes to challenging her for that belt. I can't hear you, brother.
It was an hour before I manned my microphone mute. I want to give a shout out to Rough Cut Rick Ruby, who was chiming in here a few minutes ago. Jared bringing up a great point here. I got to tell you right now, to me, I don't think that Charlotte's jumping to the front of the line, but I definitely think that if Charlotte can't deliver and defeat Asuka this go-round, she's got to go back to the back.
She's got to work her way, huh?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where she's got her chance because there's a lot of people in that women's match that deserve that opportunity. Yeah. And again, when you look at it here, and I'm going to go ahead here in just a minute. Let me go ahead and here and see if I can pull up real quick here the listing of who's in there. I believe there's supposed to be one more match up this coming Friday for the final spot in the women's matchup. Right now, the women's side is Selena Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, and one to be determined.
Well, just think of this, Rob. Bayley and God bless it. I am having such a damn time with names tonight. Bayley and Becky. They're the veterans going into this match, you know, and it's crazy to, that Bayley's been kind of out of the picture whatsoever, because I think she's coming off of being injured, I believe, in the last year. And then, Becky, she's working her way. Trish Stratus has gotten in her way, so it's kind of put a speed bump. And against Stratus at the last pay-per-view. And do you remember who that was? She's from NXT.
Let's see. You got Zoe Stark. You've got
she's like the new heavy hitter for Trish Stratus.
Oh, that was Zoe Stark.
Yeah, Zoe Stark. So I believe that with Zoe being in the Money in the Bank, it's going to be her duty to keep Becky from winning that Money in the Bank. So the women's title picture on both sides is real interesting. Someone posted up Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Charlotte in a triple threat. That would be very interesting to see. First, let's go with I'm looking forward to see what happens with Asuka and Charlotte. Becky's a little upset that Charlotte's getting this opportunity right off the bat, but like everyone's saying, Charlotte is the line.
Well, you know something, Justin, sitting here looking at, we still have one spot to be determined. I got to tell you right now, and this is going to sound strange, but you got 4 individuals that have already had some pretty good clout in this match. I mean, Becky Lynch, Bayley's had a good run of things, but I should have hit that. We have 2. You got Zoe Stark, who's just made her arrival. Selena Vega's always kind of been on the outside looking in, same as Io Sky. There's a lot of women that are going to be in that opportunity. And you got to throw this one up here. Thank you, Aaron, for making the comment of the night. The last spot should belong to Santina Marella. Oh my. Okay, we're gonna take a deep breath now. There's a lot of things that would not allow that to happen. I mean, again, after all, Santino is with Impact Wrestling. I don't know how the legal deal would be. I think they were both signed at the same time. So, as was said here, I said Seth is world champion. Becky was women's world champ. I got to ask, it's not a high spots question, but Justin, I got to ask you, what were your thoughts last night about the new women's championship given to Rhea Ripley on Raw? And it looks eerily similar to something else they just presented.
Well, no, that's what they're doing. They presented the WWE championship to Roman, and then the WWE championship to Asuka. I'm liking it that they're keeping it equal. I like, I'm not going to lie. I wish they kind of gave a brown leather strap to Seth Rollins' belt, because it would give a reminiscent of the old NWA title that Flair held in 85, 86, But no, I like it. They're keeping it equal. They're keeping it, I really did not like when they had the Divas Championship belt. I did not like that belt. I felt like, that was kind of a slap in the face to the women's division, that Divas belt. Yeah, I like the belts, what they're doing with them right now.
And you got to look at it right now here. A question should be, how do we feel about Rhea not defending her title at Money in the Bank? She's earned that opportunity. She's earned that right. And again, if we're going to see the idea of possibly her being able to win both championships, that's good. Also, we might see the idea of Rhea Ripley winning, losing her title somewhere down the road. And because she has the Money in the Bank, she's never seen a champion win Money in the Bank. So what you're looking at here is the situation of where, is this going to take place to where you almost have like an insurance to that heavyweight championship, or in the case of the women's championship. Now, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff taken care of here. So you know what we're going to do real quick? we're going to go ahead and take just a minute, take a pause, if you will, and we're going to go ahead and bring on a man who's been here and there the last couple weeks, but now he's back with us here tonight to bring forth his own brand of message. So if we can, let's go ahead and hit that intro music for the one, the only, the man with the snippets of truth, Big Daddy P.
There he is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy P, how you been doing, my friend?
Oh my goodness, man. It has been absolutely insane, good and bad. We got this world, man, that is just, there's so much crud going on and so many things have happened that I'm just thankful to be alive.
Well, I get you, Big Daddy P. I mean, again, I know you've heard at the top of the show, we acknowledge there's several things going on right now in the world. I mean, just to name a few, we did talk about the passing of such wrestlers as Peggy Lee Leather, the Iron Sheik, Superstar Billy Graham, local St. Louis personality, the Punisher. We also gave a shout out to a man I know you've probably heard of in the Midwest areas, Evangelistico. He competed last Friday and had a very major health issue on Saturday. I know that he's got a pretty long road ahead of him. I know that our broadcast colleague, the Night Owl, he's been dealing with some things lately as well, with a family friend, a longtime family friend, kind of always keeping an eye out for for Big Hoss and his family, as well as Nightmare Jones. Got a lot of things going on here in the world, man. Like I said, you can't take one single second for granted, because in the next second, who knows what's going to be going on.
Let me tell you, man, there's never been times like this. We've had different times, but not like this. The inability to love one another. There's a scripture that is your snippet of truth tonight, which says that when lawless exists, the heart grows cold. We have a world filled with people that their hearts are cold to not only God's message, but to the love of other people. And, these last, matter of fact, I spoke to Renee via Messenger, and we talked, and, a lot of us have a lot on our plate. And I'm just thankful that we have the opportunity to represent God in a world that people want to be their own gods. And that's unfortunate and it's sad. I've kind of stayed off social media. I've kind of been, I don't want to say a hermit, but I kind of backed myself off of things only because of the hurt that I have towards just the situations and experiences that so many people are going through. And, just personally, I've never seen it this bad. But it's times like these that we're supposed to be the strongest. It's times like these that we're supposed to represent, to let them know that even though things are crazy, that God is still in control. And he clearly is. I mean, there are a lot of people, as you noted, that aren't here anymore. We've lost a lot of people. And unfortunately, it's only going to get worse, only because of the fact that, well, God's patience is wearing pretty thin. And unfortunately, people want to do their own things, and it's sad. And there's really all we can do is just encourage one another, lift each other up. Again, I'm thankful for this opportunity that we have, because one, to be able to publicly pray is still acceptable, but there will come a time that it won't be. There's going to come a time that God's word is going to be considered hate speech. simply because it's a message of love. And the enemy doesn't want love. He wants division and he wants strife. I know without a doubt that his plan is to destroy the family, because he knows if he can destroy the family, he can destroy the nation. The problem is he's so stupid, he doesn't even know the end of the story. He's defeated and he loses. So although bad things are happening, and a lot of people always want to know, why does God allow bad things to happen? And let me tell you, it isn't a matter of him allowing bad things. It's people making a choice to do bad things. I wish he would just, electrocute whoever and make them disappear. Those who are filled with anger and hate and want to cause division, but it doesn't work that way. So we just have to continue to be patient. We have to continue to trust him, especially in difficult times. And sometimes it's even hard to breathe, let alone pray. So if anybody is out there and is hearing this message, if you're struggling, as I am right now, at least we have each other. And at least we know that God is faithful. Even though it might not look like it, he is very much in control. This is not the first time this world has seen disaster and calamity. Even in 1969, Billy Graham, Dodger Stadium, said if God spares America, he owes Sodom and Gomorrah an apology. And look at where we are now. But we still have wrestling, right? We still have a lot of wonderful things. We're still somewhat a free country, although we're losing that every day, not to get political. But heck, if we're going to talk about religion, I guess we can talk about politics, right? So, look at where we're at. Look at what's going on. It's truly clear that there is a threat, but that threat is temporary. And I think that's one of the things we need to remember, is that it is sometimes it's hard to find a positive in so much negative. But if this was my last day on earth, if there was one thing that I could tell you, it's to continue to be patient. He is with us. He's never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. We are still one of the most freest countries in the world. I can look at the finances and business and everything and see really how crappy it's been the last 3 months. It's been probably the most difficult time in my family's life. But I got a wife that loves me. I got a wife that when I wake up in the morning, she looks over and I know she loves me. And there was a time in my past that I was financially great, but didn't have a good relationship and wished I had it. I just petition heaven now on a little bit of balance, like kind of right in the middle, but that's not the way things work. And there's a reason, especially if you ever want to know who somebody is, heat them up. And when you find out when things are difficult, you'll really find out who they are. And that's a personal even thing with me, because as I said, I've kind of backed off, not because I don't want to be there for people, but sometimes I can't even pray because of all the things that are going on. I don't have to have some long prayer to communicate with God, because I know he's there. I know he's very real. I know he created me with one purpose. I know why he gave me a big mouth. That's to let the world know that he loves them and that he's there for them. So don't lose hope, because hope is something that if we wake up tomorrow, I guess we should just be thankful for that. There are countries where power doesn't even stay on for more than 20 minutes. And then they're in the dark for hours upon hours, or maybe some don't even have running water, but we've got internet, right? We've got TVs. We've got everything we could have ever dreamed of. But all that stuff is temporary, because the eternal stuff, what happens after this, if anything that I can tell you that I've learned over the last 3 months is I look forward to when my time on this earth is done. Not because I want to leave anybody behind, but there'll be no more pain, no more sorrow, no more tears, no more IRS, no more taxes, no more financial issues, And I thank you guys that you continue to have me on. It is a privilege. It is an honor if I can, my goal is always to encourage. And so if anybody is out there who is feeling like I am, which, listen, not every day, what did Stallone say? Not every day is sunshine and rainbows, right? Mm-hmm. You have storms. Sometimes it's dark. Sometimes it is difficult and it is hard. I'm telling you, I know how hard it is right now. I do. I feel it in I think I have about $1.05 in every one of my accounts. And everything due, you know what I mean? But he is faithful and he will provide. Outside of was there any other prayer requests besides all the loss?
Well, actually, we've had a couple of them come in, Perry. Just kind of bringing it out here. I want to show this one here. This came in from Aaron Wallace, being very reflective, very reminiscent here a little bit. And also, I was just made aware. I want to thank our great Wrestle Talk podcast family here because I was completely unaware, and that's very odd for me. Our guest is actually able to come on the program. He suffered a attack at an event this past weekend. He wound up, I believe, was taking a fireball to the face. And he is being able to join us here. It's taken a lot of preparation to get things taken care of, and we're going to be joined here momentarily. But like I said, we got a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have passed away. I know there's some things going on unspoken with myself. Also, I know,
hey, don't ever feel bad about unspoken. Okay. A lot of people might say, well, we need to know the specifics. So no one needs. God knows. He knows exactly what the situations are. So never feel unspoken, because there's many times I don't want people to know all the things. You know why? Because maybe they don't have as much faith as I do. And so if I share with them what I'm going through, it's possible that it might discourage them, thinking, well, man, if God's not providing for him, he's certainly not going to provide for me. Let me tell you, that's horseshit. There's no other way to put it. He doesn't love us because of who we are. He loves us because of who he is.
Very true. Very true, Big Daddy. Now, like I said, we got a lot of things here. I know there's been a couple others that have been unspoken, but like I said, we're going to go ahead and kind of give the floor to you as you do each and every week that you're on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Take it away.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your patience, for your mercy, for your grace that you continue to bestow upon us each and every day. Father, it's hard sometimes. It's hard to wake up. It's hard to work. It's hard to do a lot of things because of all the things that are going on right now. But we know one thing is for sure, and that is the words that you wrote. You said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." May we continue to have the energy to come to you, to continue to trust you in times of difficulty. Father, you know just as much as I do that this world and many people in it are not seeking your ways, are not seeking the truth, are not seeking your will, your plan, or your purpose. But Father, you know already where they're going to end up. And we just want to petition you tonight that you would hear all these requests, all these hurts, and all those that are suffering due to loss. Father, you know about loss. You also know about gain. And even though things might look difficult, you tell us that in all things to give thanks, because we know that it is your will that none of us should perish, that we would all come to knowledge of who you are. And I thank you for this time that we can publicly pray for those that are hurting. I'm so thankful, Father, that you give us an option to come to you, that we never get a busy signal. We never get a voicemail. You're always ready to hear us. And for those, Father, that haven't put their faith and trust in you yet, who happen to be listening to this, they need to know what you did for them, that even while we were sinners, you died. You sent yourself in the form of flesh to pay the ultimate price, the Passover lamb. to give us a way, the only way to receive eternal life. There is not one person that received eternal life outside of faith alone in the work that you committed. So I thank you. I ask that everybody who is listening to this would continue to trust you, that they would continue to come to you, to share their thoughts and concerns and fears with you, knowing that you not only hear, but that you answer. I thank you for Wrestle Talk. I pray for their finances. I pray that you would continue to bring people to be a part of it. Father, for those wrestlers that are injured right now who can't work, can't provide for their family, I pray for strength and energy, that you would rise them up, that you would heal them, that you would make a way when no one else can, because that's who you are. You love us not because of who we are, but because of who you are. Love is the key, and I thank you for loving us. And again, I thank you for this opportunity that we get to come before you with an attitude of gratitude, with basketfuls of thanksgiving, even in such difficult times as these. We love you so much, and we thank you. And Father, for those who are going to put their trust in you today, I know that you're the one who wrote the words, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and they'll be saved. You wrote, it is written that by believing that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the one who came as a sacrifice to pay the price for us. For salvation is a gift, a free gift, not something that we can work for, but by faith alone, by trusting in you, we can have eternal life. We look forward to your return, and I thank you, and I love you, and I ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you just tuned in, this is one of those things that makes the FWC, which makes the High Spot segment, which makes the shoot and shouts, which makes the game show challenges. This is one of the key parts of what makes the Wrestle Talk podcast such a key part of our Tuesday nights. And that is the truth, the snippets of truth from the one, the only Big Daddy P. Now, Big Daddy, I'm going to tell you right now, next week is going to be a busy week. There's a lot of things going on. But I know that we're going to have you right back here next Tuesday night to share even more of the snippets of truth with all the great viewers of the Wrestle Talk podcast.
I love you guys. Renee, love you as well. And you guys just hang in there and keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop until you can't do it anymore.
That is true, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Big Daddy P joining us here. And like I said, we're going to be joined by the one-man zoo L Ride here in just a couple minutes. But before we do, we need to go ahead and bring a familiar face once again onto the Wrestle Talk podcast. He's going to be talking about all things FWWC. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the CEO.
Woo! Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, DeJuan. I got to tell you, man.
Can you see me?
We had our meeting a few days ago. We had an opportunity to talk about the FWWC. And I'm going to tell you right now, when we came forth in that meeting, you said you had a lot of stuff to talk about FWWC, but I think it was like one of those musical songs that you said tonight you weren't coming to the show alone. Is that correct?
I might have a special guest with me this evening. I know it's been a while since you guys see my face. Thank you, Big Daddy P, man, because life has been lifing. I don't even know if that's the correct term. Life, Jay. Life has been lifing, yo.
Like I said, if it's not,
listen.
If it's not, you just made it one.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it has been an incredible journey so far. I'm glad to be back tonight. I'm glad that my shoot life allows me to be back here this evening because I know it's been a while since you've seen my awesome face. Had to make another career change. Here's the thing about jobs and employment. We have to consider ourselves. It's like football. When it comes to our jobs, we're the free agents, okay? You hire me to come do a service for you. And if I'm not liking what's going on, guess what? I can go to another team. So I decided to go to another team, and because I'm on that team, I'm back here every Tuesday night, or the Tuesday nights I'm allowed to be back, and I'm ready to roll, baby. But yeah, apparently I got somebody coming with me this evening. You know,
I heard that you might have, but I know you also got a card to talk about that's coming up. So
I do.
I didn't know which one you wanted to do first because I know for a fact the card's got a lot of impact on all things WWC. So tell you what, let's go ahead and hit up that.
Let's do the card first.
And
let's do the card first.
Here and okay, you got to explain this, CEO.
I will.
FWWC FED crossover. This is like the first time I've ever seen this as a part of the Friday Night Fights. What's up here?
So here's the deal, man. Thank goodness to the WWE and their amazing scheduling and separating pay-per-views months from each other. I'm telling you, it's been like a damn near a whole month since we had another pay-per-view. So we've been really having to kind of fill in the time because we do know that Money in the Bank will be Saturday, July 1st. So all Fridays up until that day, we're going to be having main roster, which is the FWC, versus the FED, that's our developmental company, that's our developmental portion of our brand and of our group. You know, some guys that are down there, just think about NXT, if you will. You know, some guys are, and side note, Baron Corbin, NXT, amazing idea. Keep it going. I thought it was great. Sometimes those guys got to go back down there and kind of spruce stuff up. So that's what the FED is about. So we're going to have the main roster, which is the FWC versus the FED crossover match, 4-on-4 tag match. It will be Lucha, El Luchador de KC, teaming up with BPK as Big Papa Kirk, Ace, and our FWWC Hybrid Television Champion Lecter versus the members of the FED. That is the returning Voorhees, Jake Wyatt, Jinx, and Robert. And if I'm not mistaken, if I get it 100% correct, if I know the guy like I know the guy, one of those individuals will be joining us this evening, and it is none other than Robert. What's up, homie? Long time no see, bro. I ain't seen your face.
Right. What's up, man? What's up? How you doing tonight?
Man, dude, I am back. I am here. Life has been lifing. The world has been whirling, but at all costs, the FWWC is still the FWWC. And my apologies for kind of the lacking in booking. Like I said, life has been lifing, but slowly but surely we're getting things back together. So, Robert, you're involved in this 4-on-4 tag team match, the main roster versus the FED, our development.
And he froze up.
Okay, we're back. Good, cool. I was circling. Like my FEDs will kick ass. Come on, man. This isn't a competition between the two brands. This is just a friendly match to keep the audience entertained. So, Robert, you're going to be teaming up with these cats against the main roster. What are your thoughts about this match real briefly?
Man, that's the way that everybody should be looking at it as, is that, you know, we're on equal grounds. There's no FED is a lesser value to the main roster. You know, we just put just as much spotlight on our roster, just as much as the main roster. And coming to this Friday night, and that's what we're going to show. We're going to show that the FED is just as good, if not better, than the main roster.
I have to be honest with you, Robert. I've seen you guys in competition. You've held down Mondays. You've held down Fridays. You've held down your own pay-per-views. And it's exciting to see some of you cats get back in action, man, because we're leading all the way to Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is July 1st, but fellas, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. It seems like the older we get, the faster time goes. So the fact that we're already having a conversation about July and it's damn near the middle of June, it blows my mind. Like, do you guys, I mean, I'm 38, I'm not sure how old you guys are, but it just seems like time just freaking goes, and it's like I can't catch up with it, and damn it, it's already damn near the 4th of July already, Luke. Like, what the hell? But yeah, man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited, Robert. I am not your GM, or should I say, I am not the guy that actually runs the shows. Me and Haas converse with each other. But, man, I know that Friday night is going to be badass. Any final thoughts before we keep the show going?
Man, I'll tell you what now, though, that I know my birthday's going to be like next week. And you know what? You know, this is going to be like within the next week and a half. It's going to be something that I got to prove to myself that age is just a number. I still got it. That the ring rust is not going to be a factor. So, you know what? It's time to put in my all on for this past like week or two.
Darn straight, man. Well, best of luck to you guys going down Friday night, man. The CEO will be there. I'll be in the building. I'll be in action, like I said. Shoot job, better hours. I'm happy. I'm here. I wasn't doing that other crap all summer. It's going down. Robert, thank you for joining us, sir. For sure.
Peace out.
So, one more thing before I go, because I know you guys got the rest of the show and you probably talked about this. I have one question as relates to the WWE, if I can ask that. What are they doing with Cody? What are they doing with Cody? What are we doing with Cody? I mean, that can be a question that can be answered another time. But why are we? Why? No. Damn that! I'm gonna do the timeline because I'm gonna speak on it. So Cody we built Cody Rhodes to come back for WrestleMania last year, if I'm not mistaken. He has an amazing match series with Seth Rollins. They go through the back and forth. Everything's all good. It's bang, bang, boom, boom. Yes, sir. Then, yes, the FWC tonight will be this upcoming Thursday. The show will be back. It's going to be cracking. All right, so we go through this amazing series with Seth Rollins. Cody gets hurt. He wrestles. He tears up his pec and his red and it's all that. And Then we go to Royal Rumble, book him to win, knowing good and darn well that everybody's rooting for Cody. Cody doesn't go over at WrestleMania. We feed him to Brock Lesnar. Now he's going against Dominic and Money in the Bank. What are we doing with Cody? Can anybody help me? Anybody? Why bring this man back, do all this build-up, get him going, just to feed his ass, and where's the payoff? Where is the payoff? That's what I'm frustrated about.
Well, I got to tell you right now, CEO. Number one, we might have to have a CEO meter after this one. But I think it's one of those where I think we see the big payoff. I think we see, and I know a lot of fans aren't going to want to see it. I think we see the big payoff at the end of the year, so to speak, at next year's WrestleMania.
2 years, bro? Come on, man. Dog, what did Cody do? Did he piss off somebody? What are we doing? What is this booking? Now, I'm not against, yeah, they are screwing the pooch. I'm not against putting the belt on Street to the Moon. It seems like they only had him back to come win the title, hit Brock Bowman. But, dog, has he not done enough? Has he not proved enough for people to believe that he can carry the damn company? I mean, they put I guess we can call it the contemporary belt on Seth Rollins, the world heavyweight, whatever the hell that piece of shit is. Come on, man. I'm being serious. And here's what else that pissed me off. I know I gotta go. Why was that the first match at Night of Champions? That gave zero significance to that title. Why was this world heavyweight title? And you can kind of tell that the boys were kind of feeling themselves because it was the first match. AJ Styles, Seth Rollins. It was the first match at a major pay-per-view. Who gives a shit about this big gold belt? I'm sorry. What are we doing? That's all I got. I'm sorry.
Well, before we go, CEO, it's official. And I talked with all the wonderful members of the management team. If you look at the screen, the CEO rant meter is at 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Catching up to do.
Yeah, we got to catch up with him tonight.
We do.
Like I said, with everything that's there. Before we let you go, CEO, for those who want to find out more about the FWWC, where can they find out? And also, when can they catch the FWWC tonight?
Yes, sir. We are returning this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Central, the FWWC tonight. Again, my life has been lifing, but I'm taking life by the damn and grabbing it back. You can check us out on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter. We're on all social media platforms. Put it in the search bar. You're going to pop up, and we're going to get it cracking, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of the FWWC joining us. And I got to tell you right now, Dewan, I'm looking forward. I'm going to have to hopefully make a trip up to KC this summer, and you're going to have to hook me up when it comes to being in KC. The one, the only, the CEO joining us here tonight. You can catch him on Thursday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as a brief reminder, again, we want to say thank you to everybody that's been tuning in this evening. Make sure to share those hashtags WTP, hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling, so we can engage with all the great conversation we've had this evening. And Justin, you know what?
Yeah.
This is something I don't think you've ever had to do, or at least not that I can recall. We've talked about our great fans, and you always acknowledge our great fans, but I'm going to turn the mic over to you to acknowledge our great sponsors.
I've done it a handful of times.
All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
Let me see it.
Let's go ahead and make sure you can take
Hey, Wrestle Talk Podcast, I'd like to thank all of our great sponsors. Royal Mills Transportation. That's Dewan Mills. If you need driving, talk to him. Rathbun Engraving, where you can get that world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast mug for just $20. Nobleman's Barber Lounge in Kansas City, Missouri. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. Got to say hello to Interstate 70 Sports Media. little Popeye designs. That's where you can get that Wrestle Talk Podcast Tumblr and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. How about that, Rob? What do you think of that, Mr. Luke Roberts?
That wasn't bad at all. That wasn't bad at all. But you know something? We're going to go ahead and we're going to take just a second here. And we're going to have the opportunity to introduce a man who really has kind of jumped on the scene in the last few years. And I got to tell you, in the last 2 years, his in-ring ability is nothing short of amazing. And I'm going to level with you. And again, we're going to talk about this a little more during the interview. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this interview. I myself, as well as Justin Wade, have been looking at this. This man had an opportunity a few months ago to compete with a man that he's very familiar with, Chris Exodus, and being able to compete inside the Chaifetz Arena and having the opportunity to see from where this man has come from to the highest of highs within Dynamo Pro Wrestling is one of many promotions he's really making a statement in. To see the events that unfolded this past weekend, we're very fortunate we had the opportunity to bring him on the program. Hopefully we've got some introduction music for him. I don't know if we have it queued up and ready to go yet. Let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our feature introduction and our feature interview of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wrestle Talk Podcast is proud to bring to you the one, the only, the one man to El Rye.
Thank you.
All right, well, the first question I know a lot of our fans are going to ask, those that follow you around the Midwest, first thing we got to ask, I know it's been a few days removed from that very heinous attack that Makazi gave to you. The first thing we got to ask is, how are you doing, El Rye? I mean, I know, like I said, right now, things haven't been going as well as we would hope, but again, we were bringing it right to the man who's involved. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty decently, honestly. It was May 21st, I believe. I'm terrible with numbers. I faced Makazi after he had faced my brother and drag him straight to the merch table. Me and Matty Monarch were sitting at, just doing our own thing, selling merch, watching the rest of the show. He's purposely took it upon himself to drag my brother to that table and slam his head against it. And then I had to call him out. Like, you don't do that to my brother and just get to walk away with it. And then, of course, last month, I finally get the chance, and he went out of his way to throw fire in my face, which has done its toll. It took me 2-3 weeks just to be able to not have to have gauze on when I was in any room with bright enough light. My eyes are still sensitive to me wearing the sunglasses and the kind of lower lighting in here. I had my first official match since at MMWA this last weekend against Chris Slammer, and I actually got the win. Very showing that what I've been having to do to truly train what I have, my own other senses, to be able to do what I can do to make up for the little less sight I have, is starting to pay off. And so luckily I'm able to see enough to I can access my social medias again. I had to have Maddie helping me with my social medias. I had to use a white cane to actually walk around, because just so I didn't have to like stare closely at the ground to make sure I tripped over anything small. And it's surreal to know this is just partially what my grandfather had to go through. He was a blind man for most of my life, and miraculously got his sight on much later when I was already out of high school and started my wrestling career. And so in a way, it's like, now if I can just get to where I can be still on that same level I was before this fireball accident, then I can consider it a huge tribute to my grandfather and show that just like those you see who have 1 to no legs, somebody like Gregory Iron who has like cerebral palsy and is able to not even use like his right arm, and can still be successful in this business. I want to help represent the community of other senses that can't always be represented. So thankfully I have been recovering well, and I am still training as hard as I can to become just as good without my full 100% sight.
Well, Elrod, I got to tell you right now, if there's any time that you need to be at your as close to 100% as you can be, I mean, we could be looking at this weekend, and we're going to talk a little more about that during the interview. But when we were talking just a few short days ago, we were kind of getting prepared for this interview. It's hard to believe that you've been around the professional wrestling industry now for, if my math is correct, about 7 years. And I want you to go ahead and share for those that are viewing the program tonight how you got involved in the world of pro wrestling, because I've heard from a lot of people that you got a pretty interesting story about getting into the world of professional wrestling for the first time.
Absolutely. The long story short, yes, it's been about 7-8 years, at least independent circuit wise. But like most kids, we started in yards after seeing guys like the Hardy Boys who made trampolines in the rings. Like, I'm sure that story's been heard a million times everywhere. But it all really, if we want to get really true to where it started before I even had a trampoline in my possession. It was when I first truly became close with Chris Exodus outside of wrestling. I was on a school bus and I heard just clacking sounds and grunts, and I turn around to see one kid with two action figures. So I sneak my way to the back before the bus driver can yell at us, "Oh, get in your seat," and everything. Make it all the way to the back. I sit across from him. I'm like, "Hey, what are those?" And he goes, "Oh, man, these are wrestling action figures." I'm like, "What's wrestling?" I had no idea what professional wrestling was. And he goes and gives the, like, I'm going to try to do my best impression while I have like this, but he just had that slow rotation, dramatic, like the chipmunk meme or whatever, where he spins around dramatically. That's basically what he did. And I'm like, what? He goes, "What is professional wrestling? How you're coming to my house tonight?" It was a Monday. So, Monday Night Raw comes on. So he's like, "You're coming to my house. I don't care. Here's my number. You're going to call this house and you're going to get your mom and you're going to get a hold of us and we're going to watch Raw." I'm like, Raw? I'm like thinking, man, that's a weird name for something that's involved called wrestling. Like, I'm confused by every aspect of this. Next thing you know, I get up, my mom calls, his grandma picks up. They arrange for us to meet at the house, find out he lives 2 blocks away. I could walk to his house. Obviously, I was young and my mom drove me because there's no way we're having me walk through that neighborhood to some stranger's house. And then I ended up going there for about 2-3 years straight every Monday night to watch Raw with him because we both were obsessed. And eventually that led to, one day we're just playing around. We're playing with the action figures. We're playing the video games. I got a trampoline, and then it all went south in a way where he goes, "Hey, bro, choke slam me." I'm like, "Do what?" He says, "Choke slam me. It won't hurt." And then all from there, we started wrestling. We made little shows from when my sister was over with friends. And we ended up wrestling on trampolines. We wrestled on mattresses. We wrestled on makeshift bases made out of tires, mattresses, plywood, 2x4s. And we were doing everything we could to be as legit as possible. And eventually we ended up getting a real ring. And that's how CHWA, Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, was born and is still going to this day, which I am amazed with how far we've gone. We are currently partnered with Dynamo a lot. We have a lot of Dynamo talent coming through. Thus, the way I faced Mikaze. Clearly, not all matches work out the way we want them. Cause face, but it's just surreal that it started off from meeting a kid on a bus, and then I just go to his house, and now me and him are literally we're blood brothers. No one's going to tell me otherwise. He's not going to say anything else different. And we have gone into being on the independents, and we've gone to win titles together. And it's just an amazing journey that I've been blessed to have.
Well, I got to tell you right now, I mean, again, the story, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on the program. It's just the idea of the connections that you make from professional wrestling. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of people know from the Wrestle Talk podcast, my older brother And I've seen many times where you and Chris Exodus have been, are basically pretty much joined at the hip a lot of times when it comes
Very
to being
much
inside
so.
the squared circle. My brother and I competed against each other on a number of occasions. And one of the things I did notice is even though you now being a part of Dragon's Guild, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the interview, but one of the things I noticed was the idea with all this growing up and really kind of making this connection with one Chris Exodus. How did it feel earlier on in your career when you actually had to stand across the ring from someone who many people consider one of your best friends in professional wrestling?
When it came down to it, like the first thought we had was we get to wrestle each other. That's exciting because from the very get-go, we basically were like, when we first started wrestling around in the backyard, it was just like 4 of us. We had like maybe 4 or 5 of us. So we were constantly mixing that up. So we always were working each other. But when it got to the point where we're in a real wrestling ring and we're at big shows and we're getting told, hey, you're going to be working each other, it gets exciting because like we never get to show what we can do when we take on somebody who's newer, or it's like it's odd. It's like if I face someone who I've just met or maybe even I've heard of and I've wrestled maybe a handful of times, it's like if I had a sheet of paper and I could draw an image using our match versus a paper with me and Chris. It's like in our heads, I know it's never going to look like the perfect match to people because there's no such thing as a perfect match unless you're some big shot who can apparently be followed by a ton of people and that he can claim it. But in reality, there is no perfect match. Everybody has their opinions. It's just like saying, I'm weird, you're normal. There is no normal. Everybody's a different kind of weird. And I will go by that forever. Normal is a setting on a washing machine. There is no normal in people, no perfect in wrestling. And when I wrestle with Chris, it's like a unspoken Mona Lisa being drawn. And then when I'm wrestling someone who I might have never met or someone I've known for a long time and who has been in this for years, though, it might still be a really good sketch. But there's just something about the chemistry and how well we know each other that makes us work harder. And it shows in our matches.
And I got to tell you right now, I mean, again, if you have an opportunity to see not just matches with El Ride taking on like Chris Exodus, but see any of the matches with Dragon's Guild, I mean, they're phenomenal in-ring competitors. And again, I got to tell you, and I didn't let you in on this earlier on, this is kind of like a Metro East show tonight because we've got you representing countless promotions here in the greater St. Louis area. Jay Wade, well known for many, many years living here in the St. Louis area, myself being here locally. This is one of those where we all kind of know what's going on here in our little corner of the universe. And I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to my broadcast colleagues. I know Justin's got some questions. We've got the one-man zoo, El Ride, here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Justin, go ahead and take it away with El Ride.
El Ride, thank you for joining us here on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah. El Ride, I want to know what's One Man Zoo? Where'd that come from? Give the background on that for the fans.
Oh, absolutely. So One Man Zoo started from a couple factors. I've always been a very big nerd in geek culture, and I'm very heavy into geek culture. And one of the things I also happen to be one of the fandoms I embodied was I was a big into martial arts. I loved martial arts. I didn't have to know how to perform in them all. And I wish I could have the supercomputer brain. Like I wish I could have been in the Matrix and just downloaded everything because I love them so much. I respect the cultures they come from, everything. One stuck out to me the most. And it's because I also grew up loving animals. And that was certain branches of Shaolin Kung Fu were based off animals. Everyone's heard of in movies of Tiger Styles, Snake, Crane. Kung Fu Panda is a movie for kids, and it's based off actual animal styles of Mantis, Crane. Bear is a style. Yes, Panda might not be a real thing, but it's a fun thing for kids, so you're going to love it. I love the movie franchise. So it's like that. It was something I wanted to there was no schools around here to teach me that. So I found books, I found online, I looked up every single resource and every single guide, and I busted my ass to be able. I'm sorry if I'm
No, it's
cussing.
okay.
All right, you're rolling.
Okay,
You're rolling.
Don't fucking
But
worry about it.
Okay. But I busted my ass for years to be able to just say I could do an ounce of what I was seeing in those old like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon movies and all these things. And I became in love with it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. And eventually I got to do like small tournaments. I did little like martial arts tournaments that came up where it was like not strictly Taekwondo or Jiu-Jitsu or anything like that. It was just it was almost MMA, but in the sense of just there was multiple styles. It wasn't MMA like in a cage fight. And I won a couple matches by people just being thrown off that I did one style here. And suddenly they're like, okay, I saw you in your last round. I'm getting ready for you now. And then it was a different version of the same martial arts style. And they just got thrown off. They're like, wait, it says like you did Kung Fu and you just were doing Tiger style over there. And I've read about it. I never did it. I've never seen it, but I watched you do it and I know I can reverse it. And then I'm fighting him in snake style at this one. He's like, what's the deal? And I said, well, the little marquee thing only has enough room to say Kung Fu. And they go, what do you mean? I know animal style Kung Fu, multiple animal styles. I don't know just one. And they go, that has to be kind of cheating. And I was like, I mean, I can't tell you what they do. And it just went, okay, respect. Gave me a fist bump and we went on our way. And so I was doing my multiple gimmicks as wrestlers do. We've seen a million gimmicks throughout the indies. Wrestlers from like look at Tommy End went up to eventually being Aleister Black and now being Malachi Black. It's kind of been along the same vibe, but they've also changed throughout the years. So obviously I had almost every one of my gimmicks has been very nerdy. It has been, I had a Power Ranger gimmick. I've had a video game gimmick. I've had anime themed gimmicks. Eventually I was like, these just don't feel like they're getting me where I feel like I'm me times 10. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take myself and I wanted to multiply it. So when I found I was like, why don't I try? I was already rusty at the Animal Kung Fu thing. I'm super rusty at it now, but I still have those little bits I can bring into the style. I was like, I want to bring that style to my wrestling style. So I was like, how can I embody that without going like, oh, it's Kung Fu Elride? Like it doesn't sound right. It doesn't have a ring. And then one day I was watching the original Teen Titans show. And I'm a huge fan of Beast Boy for the obvious reason he can turn into animals. He's my favorite color, green, every little thing. But in one episode, Starfire and the Titans are fighting a time villain, like a villain who came from the future or something like that. So she ends up going into a portal that leads her to a time where the Titans have disbanded, and she ends up finding them all separate. Robin became Nightwing. Cyborg is alone in the tower, having a hard time maintaining enough power to keep his body to function and walk around. Raven has isolated herself in almost like an insane asylum, basically, and she finds Beast Boy in one of those old school like carnival cage, like you would see connected to a train on a track. One of those like a wagon would pull it, kind of cages. And there was a sign. That sign said, "The One Man Zoo, the Freakish Wonder." And it had a picture of this like bear body with like an elephant's head and a wing and a claw. And I remember this vividly. And I said, One Man Zoo. That has a ring to it. And when I first thought of it, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be believable. But I was like, I had full heart belief. I'm like, I don't care if it doesn't seem believable. I'm going to make it believable. And I started going with that, and I haven't stopped since. And it's gotten to the point where it's gotten me where I am today.
Well, it made me think before you said that show, it made me think, One Man Zoo, you're a one-man embodiment of all those animal martial arts you were talking about. So that's what made me think, of One Man Zoo. You gotta answer me this though, man. I see you wrestling around in your damn feet. How do you do it? Because I look at it and it makes me cringe because I don't like my feet to begin with. You look so comfortable jumping around, doing 450 splashes, doing backflips out of the ring, doing a somersault back splash into the ring from the outside. How did it come to where you were wrestling in your feet?
So that actually kind of goes back to the same martial arts. So I looked up conditioning videos for actual monks, which their training is ridiculous. I mean, I will never say I have the resilience or the toughness I don't have that discipline. Like, because if you watch somebody who studies what's literally the specific known as Iron Fist, they're going every single day punching into iron sand, jabbing their fingers into it, punching rocks. They're literally punching like a post that's got a wood with rope wrapped around it, and their knuckles are bleeding, and they're doing over like 100 reps per hand every single day. And I was like, okay, I need to find something to build up a resilience and to make me stand out. And one thing that definitely gets brought up a lot about my wrestling is what you just brought up, being barefoot. There's not very many wrestlers out there that I see that are barefoot.
I can think of two, Matt Riddle and Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Those are the only two.
Yes. So there's Matt Riddle. There's Superfly Snuka. I can give you two more. Delirious and Mad Dog Connolly, who's from I've seen a couple times in the indies around here. Yeah, and I didn't even realize that he was a bear. Like, he wraps his foot kind of like Solo Sikoa does.
Yeah, him too. I don't know how.
It's like suddenly I'm starting to see these people doing it, and it's like people I've met. I went to a Comic-Con with Matty Monarch a while back, and we met Jungle Boy there. And I told him a lot of my friends try to say that I'm similar. They think my gimmick reminds them of you. And he goes, oh yeah. So I explained a very quick summarized version of what One Man's Do is. So I would tell him I wear animal prints, so it kind of matches the Jungle Boy's idea of his has animal prints on a lot of his gear. And I go, the only big real difference, other than obviously our different like body types and our looks, is I wrestle barefoot. And he goes, you wrestle without shoes or boots? And I'm like, no. And he looks at me and he just goes, I don't know if I could do that, man. And I'm like, this is Jungle Boy. And I mean, I've met multiple guys who are martial artists. Ricky Cruz, who has been a like super martial artist in his past, he even looks at me like I'm insane every time he's seen me without my shoes on, walking around the locker room. And it's just, I built up a tolerance. I mean, I'd walk on the gravel in my driveway to build up kind of like just a use to anything that like, it's not like I walk on it like it's nothing. I still feel points and stuff of like, if I walked on Legos, it's still going to be something I feel. I just have less reaction than some people because I do what I do to be able to do what I can in ring. I've even gotten permission at Dynamo, where I train, to start training barefoot because I was actually bringing my shoes out of respect for them.
Out of respect, yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to get in your ring barefoot to train out of respect. And then one day I said, I want to work on these moves. Can I please train with your permission without my shoes? Because if I can do it with the shoes, what happens if I can't do them without it in a real show? I can nail it every time with my shoes on. I have to be able to do it without them. And he goes, you know what, man? Your feet are probably cleaner than half the guys that get in this ring. And I was like, thank you. So I started doing that, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah, because for my little time, I know Luke Roberts. He was my initial trainer back in 2004. I was in business on and off for about 10 years, and I did train a little bit down at Dynamo. And I know they wipe those mats down nightly. So they're keeping it clean. So I wouldn't see why not you couldn't train, because you got to make sure you can get that. I know this sounds funny, but a grip with your feet. There is a gripping, with those ropes and the turnbuckle pads.
Actually, at this last event we were at, when I wrestled Slammer at MMWA this last weekend, and a bunch of the guys were coming upstairs after their matches, and they were after I was like second match, I think. No, second match, early on the card. And I was still like walking, and I'm going for the risks. I'm going for flips and stuff, which I probably shouldn't, but there's only one way I'm going to get better at it, and that's going for it and just risking it like the high flying style is. And I found out all these guys are coming upstairs later, and they're like, man, the ropes are slippery, man. I almost landed on my head when I went for this lion salt. I'm like, they weren't slippery. They're like, yeah, they are. I'm like, I have a benefit over you then. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, I have grip. My feet have a natural ability to be of better texture than some, like wrestling shoes and boots are notorious for. If there's a wet spot, you can slide around pretty dang bad. I remember falling all over the place once when I got like a nylon or even a small spit of water got on a section enough of a canvas, and my feet would slide out from under me like it was nothing.
Yeah,
It's crazy how little, like the little thing of not having shoes has helped me so much, and also surprised so many people.
Rob, what do you say about that? Because I can't even fathom wrestling in my feet.
Well, I'm going to kind of plead the fifth here because Elrod and I have kind of had that discussion a time or two. I'm in that class going, I don't know how you can do the whole wrestling without wearing shoes thing. Because I shared the story. I think I talked about my brother earlier on for years. He was really had a farmer persona. And I remember very early in my career, one of the things, because I was a little guy at the time. I'm not now. You can't tell that from today, but
you're old.
I would go. He'd pick me up for an atomic drop, and I would flip over. And for some reason or another, my feet caught the top rope like flat because I was wearing wrestling shoes, and it basically sprung me back over. And all I feel is boom. And then I look down, and there's this puddle on the canvas. And I had managed, and I'm going to warn you, if you have squeamish stomachs, you might want to plug your ears and mute your microphones for the next few seconds. I'd actually managed to clean take off his big toenail 100%.
Oh.
And the man still wrestled for 6 minutes.
You probably didn't notice it. Your brother was a big man.
But again, when you see you bleeding from your foot, that's But again, I will tell you this. I had an opportunity, and I'm going to go back. I talked earlier on in the intro about the event at Chaffetz. But this man right here had an opportunity at the Cinco de Mayo event. I have not seen too many people that can fly like this man does.
That's what I'm talking about. That flip he did from outside the ring. He was facing the ring. He hopped up on the middle rope where his back was facing the ring, and then he did a somersault splash into the ring with his bare feet. That's amazing, man. That's really talented.
Thank you.
I've seen that. That's kind of what we've grown to expect from Elrod. And again, not just from him, but from the whole Dragons Guild. Now, I'm going to ask you this because in all the years I've been around pro wrestling, the idea of the name Dragons Guild is kind of a unique stable or faction or group of people. I got to ask you, how did you guys come up with that name? Because that's one of those that definitely would rank up probably one of my top 5 of the most unique names I've seen in the world of professional wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a fun actual story. So at one of the old gimmicks I used to have was I was literally just the Dragon. It was when it was the early days. That was like an old before I ever got into independent scene gimmick names. I used to literally go by a bunch of them that were ironically animal names. It's so funny. The bull, the scorpion, the snake, the dragon. And Chris and I were wrestling all the time together. And I'm like, what can we do? What's a good name that would sum up our gimmicks together or how we wrestle together? And we kept on thinking, man, we both do a lot of flipping. And like, this was when I did even more flips than I do now. And he did a lot of flips before now because he's went through a lot of things. Like he's had a big lung surgery and that ever since then. So like he's a little more cautious on his flying, but he still does it. But we both were like, okay, think. What do we go with? So we were like, well, you're the Dragon. Dragon's always a good name to put into wrestling. Like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was a big like influence on some of our stuff. We loved a lot of like Ultimo Dragon. We loved like the Dragon was like a famous thing connected to wrestling. So it was like Dragon. Let's keep that in there somehow. And then we started thinking, okay, what do we put in for it can't just be Dragon. It's got to be Dragon something. We got to have something in there or something Dragon. So we're thinking. And we both loved video games and stuff where I'm like, okay, well, what's a game that we both like? So we're trying to think of video games that we could maybe take a bit of the name and put in with Dragon and make it unique. And we're thinking we're hitting walls here. We're hitting rock here. We're literally in a rock and a hard place, just trying to figure out that last word. And then it came up. We were both obsessed with Assassin's Creed at the time. And so what happened was, we're like the Dragon Assassins. No, it just sounded like too wordy, too mouthy, too long. So me and him started as Dragon's Creed, a creed of brothers fighting under the title of a dragon. That was how it all originally started. Eventually, years down the line, Dragon's Creed had this incident where Chris had that injury where he had to have like a good chunk of his lung removed because he ended up puncturing his lung. And when that happened, we couldn't do what we were doing. We had all these things that were planned as a tag team or to plan for us as a tag team, and we couldn't do anything because he had to recover. He had to have that surgery. So we had to have someone step in and join. And that's where Tommy Davis came in. When Tommy Davis came in, we're like, Chris is not being replaced. He is not being removed, but we love the idea of him still being in Dragon's Creed. I said, what if we don't do Creed anymore? And he goes, and in confusion, he's like, why not Creed? I'm like, Creed is, when I think of it, I think of the Creed as a promise between brothers, a bond between brothers, like two individuals. But I also am, like I said, I was also an anime nerd. Well, one of the things I loved in one was they had wizard guilds. And I said, guilds are places where a whole family can be under the same title. So I said, when we get a third member, it should become Dragon's Guild. A guild of warriors willing to go risking life and limb to get what we have to do and to support and show out love to everyone we have been following us and to represent the little guys, because all of us were the small guys basically everywhere we went. So Dragon's Guild formed, and we just had Tommy Davis came in to help me do the tag team things we had to do while Chris recovered. And when Chris returned, it became just that was the trio. The trio was Dragon's Guild, and it's been Dragon's Guild ever since, because now we have a fourth member. Well, technically third, because Tommy Davis at MMWA has turned, and we don't have him in our group anymore. But we have Angelo Grimsley at CHWA, who is about to hopefully be making his jump into the wrestling scene in St. Louis, and he has joined our ranks. So that is the long story short of how Dragon's Guild became what it is.
Well, go ahead, Justin.
I'm not meaning to cut you off. Elride, looks like when I was doing some research on you said you were, did some work with Gali Lucha.
Yes, I got to go up there once.
Chicago, correct?
Yes.
Is that Chicago? Where'd you compete? Because I worked for them a few shows, I believe, at the Congress Theater. Where did you work with them at?
It was, I can't remember the actual name of the place. It was basically like a giant mall. It was like this mall that had like a bazaar kind of style selling, like a vendors. Like it wasn't like, here's a shop, here's a shop. It was like walking through what you'd imagine Aladdin walking through, where like there was just like, it was like a carnival basically, like tents and everything lined up on the inside. And then they had just one section completely blocked off that had the ring, crowd, seating, and everything.
Was it a good turnout for that?
Oh, it was a fun time. It was a pretty like the crowd was pretty good, like size that day. It was insanely like nerve-wracking being like I'm not strongly like skilled in multilingual stuff. So me and Maddie were put into a tag match against Estrella Dorado, or as most people just know him, Golden Star, and Lady Tigress. And Lady Tigress is bilingual. She speaks pretty good English and Spanish, but Golden Star is much stronger on his Spanish and not as strong in his English. So when we were planning, but he was like the ring vet. He was the ring general. So when we had to talk anything, it was a huge translation game of reading what I took Spanish classes in high school, so I could pick up on certain words and I could pick up certain phrases. But I was mostly reading his body language as he would like tell her what to tell us. And then we're like combining it all together. And it went not like, it wasn't the greatest match at all. Like it really wasn't. But we were given a lot of props and kudos from the promoter, and Ricky Cruz was the reason we even got a chance to go up there. And we got a lot of congratulations in a sense, because they said not a lot of guys and girls would come up here knowing there would be that language barrier and still attempt to do what we went for. And I am very proud of how that match went. am proud to have shared that locker room, and I would love to work there again. It's just a matter of money, time, and if they could use an extra body. but it was a wonderful time up there, and it was one of my first really, like, in a long time, like, bigger trips for wrestling.
And I got to tell you, Justin, I mean, this man, if you go through the list of places he's been, I mean, especially about the last 2 years, I mean, he has been all across the western part of the United States. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and fast forward to this weekend. You're going to have the opportunity potentially to see El Ride 2 times in 2 nights. Now, the first one we're going to talk about right here is, as we were talking about earlier, representing Dynamo Pro, Forces of Destruction this Saturday in Pacific, Missouri. I got to ask you right now, I don't have any official match lineups yet from the Dynamo Pro management, but my question to you is, who would you like to compete against at Forces of Destruction? Or can you give us a little scoop about who you might be competing against? I mean, I haven't been in the office since 5 o'clock. I mean, you might have signed a deal and took care of it, but is there anybody right now you would really look forward to competing against at Forces of Destruction?
I do not have the answer to the second half. I don't have any information. I am as much knowledge as you on the matches. Nothing really has been locked in that I've been at least informed of. So it's very up in the air on who I possibly could be working with. Like you guys brought up at Cinco de Mayo, I got to work a lot of individuals. I got to work against Tommy Davis and Ashlyn Alexander in a tag match with Maddie at my side. Luckily, we got the win. I got to face pretty much an entire roster in that the famous Cinco de Mayo Battle Royal, and I happened to have been blessed and was able to outlast everyone in that. And then there was a match with Parasite, a newcomer to Dynamo who started in CHWA, who I got to face in there. And so it's like knowing that he might be back at Pacific is fantastic. I'm happy to see how he might go in this in the Midwest, in the St. Louis scene, and see how far he goes. But
we got a suggestion from a fan too here. If you want to look down at the bottom of the screen, a man I know that you're pretty familiar with. You've had some dealings with the Snitch. How would you feel if you got that opportunity at Forces of Destruction?
Well, with him being heavyweight champion, I would absolutely love to face him. Snitch and I have had the match in Arnold. I've met with him multiple times in locker rooms. And I almost had him actually in Arnold. I slipped up and he moved out of the way. He got out of my 450s path. I took too long to get up there and he was able to recover. And it ended up being the death of me. But
it's
that's the threat of high flying, and it's a risk I was willing to make. I had him. He was on top of everything. This was my only chance I could imagine of having the moment to really put it away. And it has slipped up, and it happens. That's how wrestling goes. But I would love to. I've said very clearly, I've made this very loud and clear to people. My goal is to be the first founding father or CHWA member, period, because I'm a founding father of CHWA. I want to be one of the first members to carry a heavyweight gold outside of CHWA. Nobody has. Me and Chris were the first to hold tag team gold at MMWA out of the CHWA. I have seen many hold belts outside of it. Tommy Davis was the first to hold the junior heavyweight title at MMWA. We actually won that. Both of those belt titles were won the same night, and that was a year ago. It literally just passed a year marker. It was about last weekend would have been like a year ago. We had those belts won, and so it's like I've made it clear. I love the idea of going for something as like a junior heavyweight or something, but I honestly believe I can deserve and I can do better. And I've been told I can do better. So Snitch would be an awesome chance to prove I can. Like, I got a shot at Blake Steele next month for the MMWA heavyweight title now. And that's my first heavyweight championship match since being in St. Louis wrestling. Past outside of CHWA. So now I'm like, if I could get Snitch, if I could get Blake, if I could be that guy to hold just one of those golds. It's not about the belt at this point. It's about proving I can do this on my own without my brother's assistance. When I had to win those tag belts, we had to do it together, and I respect him and I needed it. But now I need to prove something to myself. So Snitch would be a huge dream to get my hands on and possibly win that belt. But I would be glad to face any member of the Dynamo roster 100%.
Justin, go ahead and take it away because I'm going to go ahead here in a minute and talk about the second half of the weekend. But I know that you have another question that you wanted to throw out there. So you got Elride, the one-man zoo here on the program.
Well, Elride, you talked about your inspiration. You know, you didn't talk. I can't speak. You talked about your entry into your love of professional wrestling. We all have those stories. Luke has his. I have mine from when I was in the third grade. In terms of how you perform in the ring, who are your inspirations that you try to intertwine in your style of wrestling?
So that's actually a fun question to get asked because it's changed so much over these past couple years. So obviously, like when I first started, it was Hardy's. It was all the way Hardy's and the Motor City Machine Guns because it was only tag team stuff for me. Me and Chris were so locked in on tag teams that we're never going to be singles guys. We're never going to go anywhere that way. We were both small guys. We weren't looking believable to take on anyone for something like on our own. So we were just like, we'll lock down and we'll become as good and one of the best tag teams we possibly could. Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley specifically was mine. Chris Sabin was Chris's. But I actually take a lot of inspiration now from a lot of the Samoan culture. I love the Samoan culture. Umaga is one of my actual ones that surprises people. I loved Umaga. I loved that he came out barefoot. He came out as this big guy, very primitive kind of looking wrestling style, just full on all about how to use the whole body to power through and take down the opponents. He inspires a lot of what I've done. I've looked at Alex Zane, who's been much newer age. Yeah. He has been in Japan now a lot lately. I got to meet him at a show once, and I actually there's a fun thing back when a buddy of mine said, I need to see Alex Zane versus Elride someday. And Alex Zane commented, like the actual Alex Zane commented on the post saying, because another friend commented saying, tags Alex Zane, are you down? And he said, hell yeah, let's fucking go. And I went and lost my shit. I still have the screenshots on my phone because that is my all-time current up-to-date favorite wrestler, and I will never deny that. And from him being the goofy guy who was like, Body by Taco Bell, to being like the flipping guy who just was amazing. I mean, I was the guy in the crowd in the middle of the winter. It was outdoors at Elks Lodge in Granite City. I was wearing a normal hoodie. I was wearing his shirt underneath. And I took off the shirt or hoodie, and I held that shirt up proudly, screaming every single move as he was doing it. And I'm not by the move like, oh, Irish whip, clothesline, hip toss. No, I was yelling his names for the move. I was yelling for him to get his finish, the Gordita Crunch wrap, whatever, everything. And he looked at me dead in the eye multiple times, and I was losing it in the biggest fanboying manner I could possibly have done. And I did it the whole time. I had my black eyes in. I saw him in gimmick, and I would let him know, hey, look at this. And I showed him them screenshots. And he goes, I still hope for that match someday, brother. And I lost every little bit of my excitement that moment. Just came out. Like I wanted to scream so much. I opened the mouth, and it couldn't come out. It was just that high pitch. It was making the dogs 5 miles away sparking. I have loved the man since I first met him and first fell into his stuff. I love the Will Ospreay as a huge inspiration as well because he went from being all high flying to showing now he's not just a high flyer. He can out technical wrestle. He can powerhouse wrestle. He can grapple. I wanted to prove I might be a guy who can go in there, and I could be the guy who goes in and I can be the Bryan Danielson and be like a technical wizard. Or I could be in there as a Brock Lesnar and bust my ass in the gym so I could be like the biggest powerhouse in the building. But why be one if I think of animals? I am a full tool set. I am a hammer. I am a screwdriver. I am a wrench. I am everything you need in wrestling. I can grapple, technical, submission, strike, fly. I harness every animal in this God-given earth, and I am blessed to have that confidence in myself because if I'd had this confidence in high school, I would have been probably one of the most popular kids in that grade because they would not be able to look at me without that charisma I've gotten from it. And I'm so lucky to have gotten as far as I have off of the things I've seen just by looking at guys like Umaga, Alex Zane, Will Ospreay, The Rock, and so many more.
Well, right now, let's go ahead and shift gears here for just a minute. We talked about all these great names, and we got a lot of great names to talk about. On Sunday, you're going to be taking part in the Gateway to Glory tournament. Let's go ahead and bring up that graphic here. And Justin, you are familiar with the St. Louis area. I got to admit, looking at this,
I'm familiar with Moondog. I've been in the ring with him. Have fun with that.
Yeah, you got to look at it. You got Tommy
I
Davis
know.
versus Angelo Grimsley. You got Parasite and Ricky Rodriguez. Both going to be great matches. But this left side of the bracket really kind of interests me here. You got the Queen of Lariats taking on the King of Chaos. And then you've got Moondog Rover and Elride. I got to ask you this, Elride. How do you prepare?
You can't
somebody
prepare
like
for
Moondog
Moondog.
Rover? How do you prepare for something like that?
Simply, I can put it very simply. Okay, here's the biggest hint and the biggest secret on again. I found the secret. I found the secret on how to prepare for Moondog or of any of the Moondogs, but specifically right now, Moondog Rover.
Okay.
2 things: expect the unexpected, and you don't. You just brace for everything because there's no clue. This man wrestled a night. I watched him wrestle in a ring and then had to go and get quadruple bypass heart surgery.
I read that.
Then
in the
go
room.
like
Oh my
6
God.
months. He went 6 months or so without wrestling and came back like it was nothing. And then I see him and I became. I am close to Moondog. I love Moondog. He has become like a father figure to me in wrestling. And I look at him and he walked in one day and he's like has his hand wrapped. I'm like, what happened to your hand? He goes, I got bit by a brown recluse. Why are you acting like this is normal? I'm the animal guy. I know brown recluses. I know that ain't good. And you're just chilling like, oh yeah, I got bit. And he's like, I had this, I pulled this, and he's fine. He didn't wrestle that night, but he still came back like 2 months later and he's fine. I'm like, this man is not human. Moondog, let's focus on just the moon part because he's out of this freaking world with how his brain works.
Well, I'm going to ask this right now here. And again, this is kind of one of those things. Let's take a look here. And we're not going to do the big in-depth analysis because that's going to be one of those that we're going to talk about here in the days and weeks to come. I'm just going to ask you right now, just gut opinion, because the winners of these matches go to a fatal 4-way to win the tournament. My questions to you. Your side of the bracket, Ashlyn Alexander, Ricky Cruz. Who walks out with the victory?
I'm nothing against Ashlyn. She is strong. She is way tougher than she looks for a lot of people to see her. Like if someone never seen her before, saw this bracket and goes, she's taking on this guy, she has no chance. She honestly is going to put up a fight that you would not expect. I've wrestled her a couple times now, but I've also wrestled Ricky Cruz. And this man is a international star and he has much more experience. So personally, I think his experience and his knowledge, like he helped train me a little bit a couple times. He's the reason I got into Gali Lucha. He's the reason she got into Gali Lucha. I don't see him not coming out of that match strong. Nothing but respect to Ashlyn, but I feel like Ricky Cruz has got it.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Elride. And correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. I believe Ricky Cruz is in the Midwest area. Got the mind of he's the modern day mind of Harley Race in this area from his history in the world of professional wrestling. He's been all over the place, and he's got he has got a hell lot of knowledge that I believe poor Ashlyn's in for a long night.
I'm going to go right now, and I'm going to go for my upset pick of the tournament. Ashlyn Alexander defeats Ricky Cruz, and here's why. She hits one of those lariats, that's it. She has got a lariat that rivals JBL and Stan Hansen. And I think that if she can deliver one of those to Ricky Cruz, it's going to be a matter of, does Ashlyn hit the lariat or does Ricky Cruz hit the super kick? If either one of those moves gets hit, game over. Let's look at the other side of the bracket. Tommy Davis, Angelo Grimsley. I'm not going to fib. Don't know a lot. I've heard some good things about Angelo Grimsley. But right now, if there's anybody that's been on a roll in professional wrestling in 2023, it's got to be Tommy Davis. To me, Tommy Davis gets the W in that match. Elride?
See, this is one match particularly hits me really hard personally. And that's because, like I said earlier, Tommy Davis is the reason Dragon's Guild is Dragon's Guild. Angelo Grimsley is the newest member of Dragon's Guild. These are two people I have looked at in my life at some point or another as brothers. Tommy has gotten amazing over these years. He stepped away from CHWA and he went on a journey, and he has gotten phenomenally better since he has. Angelo is a hard striker. He is sadistic at times. Like, his favorite wrestler is Jimmy Havoc. He is a wrestler who has got a mindset that is so out of the box that I can believe that somehow, just some way, he might actually pull this. I couldn't tell you which one I think would win this match. These two, I feel, have very much equal ranking in different factors that just balances. And it's just going to be a matter of who gets that one lucky hit, who gets that one move in that the other one can't get away from just enough time to call that 1, 2, 3.
All right, Justin, any thoughts on Tommy Davis, Angelo Grimsley?
I don't know much about either. From what L. Wright has said, Angelo looks like he is a more of a newcomer. He's new to the group. Tommy looks very, very locked in. I'm gonna say Tommy gets the win over Angelo. From what I've heard and what I've seen a little bit on Tommy, he's got a drive in him that could raise the, it's scary.
Okay, in our last match here in this opening round, Ricky Rodriguez versus Parasite. I'm going to tell you right now, to me, this matchup, I would give Elride's description to this matchup. And the reason why is this. They're similar builds, similar size. I think the experience edge goes to Ricky Rodriguez. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think Ricky Rodriguez makes the movement forward into that fatal four-way. Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, Ricky Rodriguez. It looks like it looks like he's going to get the Duke. I'm sorry, I don't know too much about these two, but it seems like I've seen a few videos. I believe Parasite against Elride, and Elride giving him the whatnot. So from what I've seen, I'm just going to go with Ricky Rodriguez on this.
Elride?
All fair. Like I said, CHWA has a lot of talent that people don't really know yet, because like Parasite recently has just started finally wrestling in the St. Louis area. Angelo's on the works of getting his licensing, and I feel like that's a big downside sometimes, is just getting licensing for getting wrestlers to get their licensing can be so difficult sometimes.
Yes, it can.
And it could be someone has a financial burden. Somebody could just not have the time from a current job. Maybe their job won't give them enough time on a schedule to get into a place that can help them get their blood work and their physical done. So it's like, of course, I have a lot more leniency when it comes to these guys because I've helped watch them grow. I've helped them grow. I've helped teach them things personally. And nothing against Rodriguez, but I'm leaning to Parasite. And these are my reasons. Parasite is new to a lot of fans, so no one's going to know what comes from him. But when it comes to him, I've seen him be sadistic. He is fast. And he is a guy who will do things that I would never have imagined from looking at him to do. He is very methodical. He is very strategic. And as soon as he probably saw this, that he was put against Rodriguez, I bet he had studied tape after tape. There's the downside between experience and the being a newcomer. Because if you're experienced, there's a high chance there's videos. If there's videos, that means they can be studied. If you can be studied, they can be more prepared than you can be of them. And that's why I had such a hard fight with Parasite at Cinco de Mayo. I've watched him grow from being a guy whose whole thing was being a military. I watched him leave from wrestling to be in the military. He is a military veteran.
Damn.
And he came back and he became the Parasite, a whole nother thing. So it's like, I don't know if it's something in the military is what brought this character upon, if he has truly just become this character, if it's character at all. it's the fact that I've never had such a hard hitting fight with him before, and I've had multiple matches with him at CHWA, but he pulled out everything that I never had seen before at Cinco de Mayo. And I just happened to get the last hits on him and harder hits because he doesn't know how much I had changed as well as I had not known what he had changed. So I think as just the wild factor, Parasite can get Rodriguez.
All right. Well, like I said, we left out one match out of that whole bracket. And that is Elride taking on Moondog Rover. And I'm going to go ahead real quick. We've had several comments here. Let's go ahead here. See here. Our good friend Jared siding with Elride. And we look at Aaron Wallace bringing up a comment about that originality. Moondog Rover actually taking somebody's shoe. I'm going to tell you right now. My view right now. He was
stealing my brother's gimmick. My
know.
brother steals shoes.
Right now as it stands, I got to tell you, my view, Elride gets the W. Justin.
You know what? I do love the Moondog, but I think he's going to get discombobulated with Mr. Elride in the ring. I think his high-flying abilities, and with him saying he is a studier of all type of combat, the ground game, the pound game, I think he's going to trip up Moondog and get the win. So that's how I feel, Mr. Elride.
I appreciate that.
And we know what Elride's going to say, so we don't really got to go that far. But Elride, before
I just know that Moondog's tough. Like
he is.
Like I said, he had that surgery, and 6 months later, only 6 months came back. That's impressive.
Win, lose, or draw, Elride, you're going to feel it the next day. That's all I got to say.
Oh, I believe it. And if I do happen to win, then I'm taking on 3 other people who won their matches later that same night. So it's going to be a rough Monday if I win.
I'm going to throw it this way. You thought it's going to be a rough night Saturday. You think it's going to be a rough night on Sunday. Tell you what, you're going to have a rough night right now because it's one of the things, I don't know if you've been told by other guests of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Right before we end the show every week, we have what's called the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. It's an opportunity for you to test your wrestling knowledge against one of the hosts. And since I'm the one emceeing this, you pretty much know who your opponent's going to be. Are you ready to take the challenge tonight, Mr. Elride?
I'm going to do awful, but let's go.
All right, Justin, are you ready?
I'm as ready as I can be.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
this is where people find out how much little knowledge I have of actual wrestling stuff because I focus so much away from wrestling nowadays.
Well, let's go ahead and hit the music for the world famous Wrestle Talk podcast. Game show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's installment of the world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. Our contestants are the one-man zoo Elride and the wealth of wrestling knowledge that is Justin Wade. In just a few moments, we're going to have a best of 3 contest regarding a particular professional wrestling topic. When you think you know the answer to the question, shout out your answer. The first one to get 2 out of 3 questions correct is the winner. Now, tonight's contest is going to be on a topic that unfortunately Elride got to learn about a few weeks ago. Tonight's category is famous masked wrestlers.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to give you information about 3 professional wrestlers that have consistently worn professional wrestling masks. When you think you know the answer, go ahead and shout it out. And the first to get 2 out of 3 is tonight's winner. Elride, are you ready?
I'm going to try.
Well, Justin, but hopefully by the end of tonight, we'll have a better nickname than what I just gave you. Are you ready?
What'd you say?
The wealth of wrestling knowledge. We got to come up with a better nickname.
Yeah. You know what? I also got to say real quick. I've been in these game shows against guys who have shows coming up, and I feel horrifically bad when I beat them because they got to go into the show going, this schmuck beat me, and then I don't even know the son of a bitch. So yeah, I guess I'm ready. But
All right, here we go. Question
Hey,
number
no
one.
shame if you beat me. Like I said,
Okay.
I know a lot of random things from it, but not a lot of true wrestling knowledge. I know just the random things from nowadays where I traveled.
Well,
All right, here we go. Question number one. This individual has competed around the world, winning championships in The Crash, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and Ring of Honor. Most recently, you can see him in AEW alongside the Lucha Brothers. Name him.
Pentagon.
Phoenix?
No, you're both wrong.
Wait a minute. You said
Alongside
the Lucha Brothers?
Hmm?
Oh, I don't know.
And he won in Ring of Honor,
He's won
Crash,
the Ring of
Pro
Honor,
Wrestling Guerrilla.
Crash, and
Bandito?
That is correct.
Yeah, see, I don't know Bandito very well. See? Good job,
There
brother.
you go, Elrod.
Thank you. I was like, you said when I realized you said along with Lucha Brothers, I was like, oh, you aren't talking about the Lucha Brothers. That's too real for you to be giving me the answer. You cheeky son of a bastard.
Hey, remember, I remember that. Like I said, I'm repping Dynamo Pro here. So,
Hey,
question
I
number
rep
two.
them. I don't even know if I'm wearing that shirt. Probably not.
Question number
I
two.
just grabbed
Justin,
a
are
shirt.
you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Elrod, are you ready?
Thanks.
As I can be.
Whoever
All right.
posted that.
Question
thanks.
number two. This individual was known for wearing a mask in WCW. When not wearing the mask, he went on to win 16 world championships. Name him.
Ric Flair.
That is correct. The mask.
Yeah, he won the
I
mask
didn't
one
even
night.
know that.
One night in 1990 at Starrcade.
As the Black
Had no
Scorpion.
idea that Ric
Yeah.
Flair ever. Oh, the Black
Black
Scorpion.
Scorpion, yeah.
That's where I would have known it by the name, but I would not have thought of the name. Oh,
I'm the
man.
smartest man alive.
I'm the smartest zoo alive.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it's now time for that decisive third and final fall.
Crud.
Are you
Tiebreaker.
ready?
Let's
Yes.
do it.
All right. Here we go. Question number 3. This masked individual has traveled around the world and won countless championships. In addition to being mentioned on this show tonight, he made his debut and the start of his career in St. Louis. Name him.
That's it, huh?
Elrod, your answer?
Delirious?
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge is Elrod! It is 6 figures in!
Oh, that's just my luck that I brought him up earlier. Oh,
Well, Justin, I got to tell you right now.
I'm sweating way too much for this. Why am I sweating so much?
Well, I got to say this, Justin. This is definitely different than what's there. But again, you got to give him props. He did manage to go. He managed to get that third and decisive fall to win. And again, congratulations, Elrod. And again, you see the fans are loving you. Actually, real quick here, you know what? I was just thinking about something here for just a minute. And again, you got to bear with me here for just a second. I think, based on everything that's here, I really, 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 really think that Elrod deserves this.
Very much appreciated. Wow, you're too much. You're too much.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you, gentlemen, for both for that. But before we let you go, Elrod, for those that want to see you in the ring, I mean, again, you're all across the Midwest. You've been a part of everything, and I can now say you're officially a part of another great wrestling family, that being the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. For those that want to catch you in the upcoming weeks, where can they find Elrod? And also, if they want to follow you on social media, how can they follow you?
So social media, it's OMZ Elrod on Instagram, or switch it around, Elrod OMZ on Twitter. I try to post regularly on whatever flyers of shows. I'm mostly on MMWA. It's every second Saturday of the month. And they also happen to be at the Ambassador this next month, the following Friday. So it's, I believe, 8th and 17th. I might be a little off. I'll be at Forces of Destruction in Pacific this Saturday for Dynamo. I'll be at CHWA for the Father's Day event of Gateway to Glory. and you'll find me at pretty much any future CHWA shows. And if there's Dynamo shows, you'll probably find me there as well. And I am currently working really hard to get myself into possibly being on St. Louis Anarchy running out of Alton, Illinois. So that's just my main little extra company trying to drive my way through goal. So you might see me in the crowd there if you don't see me on the show at St. Louis Anarchy. So Dynamo, MMWA, CHWA, St. Louis Anarchy, those are the shows that I promote the most, and you most likely can find me at.
Just keep working at it, brother.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
With you more, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the one-man zoo, El Ride. You can catch him this Saturday night in the wonderful world of Pacific, Missouri at the Lions Club, and you can catch him next Sunday at Gateway to Glory. El Ride, thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you a part of the Wrestle Talk podcast family, and we look forward not only to seeing you again back here real soon, but also seeing you in the ring this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was ecstatic to find out I was invited. This being the first time being on here. I've only been on a couple podcasts, of course, outside the ring. I've been with one of your sponsors, Interstate 70, with Jeremy Karp and the Maestro. So I appreciate every time I get a chance to talk and bring a little bit of my story out to the crowds and show that I can be that small town guy who can represent the little guys who don't get a chance to get to do some of the things that they've been dreaming to. So thank you guys so much for letting me join you on this tonight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one-man zoo, El Ride, joining us here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Justin, I tell you, this man is an up-and-comer. I mean, he's got a lot of things on the horizon, and I'm very happy that we had him on this program here tonight.
Yeah, me too. I got to thank you again for screwing me in the game show channel. No, I'm kidding.
What did I do? I do have to admit, though, the Billy Madison reference was quite a nice touch.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I have it deep down inside. I'd like to get my S together someday and get the old rust off and maybe take one more run at the in-ring competition side of things. So what I'm planning on doing is getting the ring rust off and remembering all those who have beat me in the Game Show Challenge and giving you my receipt once I come back to the ring. So as I say that, I get hit with a 450 plancha from El Ride and have to make sure I get my bearings back. No, that was a great interview tonight. I like El Ride. I'm liking it that we're getting the guys from the Midwest. We gotta get more guys from the St. Louis area. I don't know what the hell goes on there with those guys because they get great exposure on this show. It's a fun show. They all know it. A lot of the boys know us, and we also, I'd like to see some more, to keep it equal, get some more of the female talent on here so we can learn more about them. There is a great talent pool right now, I believe, in the St. Louis, lower Midwest area, around the St. Louis area, the Illinois side of women competition that we need to hear more from and what it's about. So I know I'm speaking to the choir. I'm sorry I don't have much pull in the say of getting interviews, but somewhere down the road, I think fans would like to see the women competitors of the Midwest and around the more on here. That's all I'm saying. So.
And just for the record, Justin,
it wasn't a rant. You want a fucking rant? I'll give you a motherfucking rant.
Well, anyway, seriously, all kidding aside, though, I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to all of our great sponsors, without who, and again, we also want to thank the great viewers of the program here. I had a lot of great comments here tonight. I want to thank our great sponsors, Royal Mills Transportation. If you're in the Kansas City area, make it a point to check out Dewan Mills. A lot of great transportation in the KC area. Rathbun Engraving, home of those great Wrestle Talk podcast mugs, which you can get for $20 a piece. Just message the Wrestle Talk podcast. We'll get you hooked up with that. Nobleman's Barber Lounge in Kansas City, the Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Little Popeye Designs, home of those great Wrestle Talk podcast tumblers, which are in very high demand from my understanding. And of course, the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. Now, Justin, I got to tell you right now, tonight has been a great program. We're going to look
fun
things. And again, as a reminder too, and we were talking about it this week, do not be surprised if you see myself or my broadcast colleague, Chris Rodell, this Saturday night in Pacific, Missouri. You can catch us out at Dynamo Pro Wrestling's Forces of Destruction. You can get tickets through Dynamo Pro Wrestling on social media. I don't know if you can get tickets from this guy, but I know you can get tickets available at Dynamo Pro Wrestling. You can get them through social media. You also get them at the door. It's going to help benefit the Lions Club down in Pacific, Missouri. Also, as a reminder, you can catch Gateway to Glory this weekend as well in Edwardsville, Illinois next Sunday. Justin, you got more to add?
Yeah, just real quick. Can you tell me if I'm thinking things incorrectly? It feels like in this time period, the Midwest, the St. Louis area has more wrestling than it did when we were running, when you and me were running. Every week there's a new promotion. There's another promotion with you either got Pro Wrestling Epic, you got Glory Pro, you got St. Louis Anarchy, Dynamo, CHWA, South Broadway, South SICW.
Pro Wrestling Epic with Faircade this weekend as well. Would totally make it a point if I forgot that. They're going to be, I believe it's in Pinckneyville, Illinois this weekend.
It feels like every week there's a show in the St. Louis area, and back then it didn't feel like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you know something too, Justin, is the idea it gives a lot of viewers here of the Wrestle Talk podcast and a lot of the wrestling fans here in St. Louis. Yeah, lots of options to go see the best in professional wrestling each and every weekend. Also, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and give a couple of shout outs here. Our good friend Jeremy Karp always has this reminder of the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, down 988, available 24/7, 365. I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever think that things aren't going the way they need to be, you need to talk to somebody. Don't bottle it all up. You can talk to people, whether it's 988, your friends, your family. There's got to be somebody that you can talk to make sure that you can get your feelings out so that you don't have to visit those avenues. Because, I mean, again, we're thankful for each and every day we have here on this planet. And again, you need to have the opportunity to talk with people. Also, if you want to follow the Wrestle Talk podcast, www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. Also, make it a point to follow us on social media. And I did forget, and again, I think I kind of got sidetracked here a minute, Justin.
You're old.
Well, no, this is some pretty big news. And actually, you know what? I think. What? Well, no. This is I'm serious. This is some pretty big news. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead right now, and I've been talking to the production team through the wonderful world of messaging services, and I actually need to play this. Well, maybe I'll play this. Bear with me here. Of course, the one time I need the technology to cooperate for me, and now it's not going to. But that's okay, because now it gives us more
breaking news.
Yes, breaking news, and this is big. Should have mentioned this at the top of the broadcast. That's totally my fault. But I do want to go ahead and bring this forward. As many of you know, in late July, the Wrestle Talk podcast has been talking about the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. It's just like we talked about attending the Cauliflower Alley Club back in September. Well, as of right now, I can announce to you that we are in very, very detailed discussions. And I can tell you at this point in time that the Wrestle Talk podcast will be broadcasting at some point. We don't have specifics yet. Will be broadcasting from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremonies in July. Right now, it's looking like it will be a special episode.
What day would that be?
Don't know yet. I've been speaking at length with the members of the Wrestling Hall of Fame. They're going to have a podcasters alley. I already know full well there's going to be a lot of inductees that are going to be there. I know that Jerry Briscoe, his podcast, will be doing a live episode from the Hall of Fame. I do know the Art of Wrestling with Colt Boom Boom Cabana will be there. There's going to be a lot of wrestlers with the Impact Pro Wrestling show. There's going to be a lot of inductees in the Hall of Fame over the course of that time period. And I can tell you right now that the Wrestle Talk podcast, in making sure that we bring the best in professional wrestling to you each and every week, are going to have a broadcast live from the National Wrestling Hall of Fame over the course of July. More information will be coming through social media here at Wrestle Talk Podcast. I got to tell you, we had to put that out there tonight. I know that several members of the Wrestle Talk Podcast team will be in attendance. There's going to be a lot of great things going on. Hopefully we can get several people to come on the program. It's going to be a very important show, but we will be broadcasting live from the Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. I have been working on this for weeks, and I'm going to tell you right now that Rodell, myself, the Maestro Jeremy Karp, along with a couple others, I'm still waiting confirmation. We're going to have a bunch of the Wrestle Talk podcast team at the Hall of Fame. And Justin, if it's going to be anything like the CAC, it's going to be a great time for the Wrestle Talk podcast family.
Well, hopefully, unfortunately, I will not be able to be there physically. Hopefully, I can make an appearance if welcomed during that time, maybe for a short segment or two.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of great interviews, a lot of great opportunities. And again, that's going to be in July. Again, make sure we're going to be sharing that information here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast Facebook account.
And also make sure you put the inductees and stuff on all the links for us and stuff. So fans that are going to be listening, they can do like a background, make sure they know who's going to be, involved in everything.
Well, Justin, if you give me just a second here, I'm actually going to go ahead and I've got that list up here. Bear with me just a second. I'm going to go ahead here. And again, the one time I need my computer to actually have some speed with the internet, and now it's going to be the one time that it's not going to. Just some of the names that are going to be a part of this. Now, bear with me here. It's a pretty lengthy list. Let's see. J.J. Dillon, Jerry Briscoe, Joe Malenko, Wes Briscoe, Colt Cabana, Marty Jannetty, John Nord, Jim Miller, Dan Gable, Tom Burke, the incomparable Rock Riddle, Rick McCord, Bob Roop, Sin Bodie, Demolition Axe and Smash, accomplished referee James Beard, Haku, Conrad Thompson, JBL, Tommy Wildfire Rich, the Baron Von Roschke, Ross Hart, Les Thatcher, Bill DeMott, Thunderbolt Patterson, Ken Patera, just to name a few that are going to be at the event. If you're anywhere near Waterloo, Iowa, you need to be there. We're going to get that all hooked up, and hopefully we can have some more stuff.
What day is this?
This is the 19th through the 20th through the 22nd in Waterloo, Iowa.
What month?
July, in a little over a month's time.
Man, you know what? I might have to maybe is there tickets still available for the
tickets
are
still available for the whole thing. And I mean, again, just to give you an idea of some of the things that will be taking place, silent auctions, kickoff parties, wrestling meet and greets, round tables, wrestling viewings, an Impact Pro Wrestling show, and there's also going to be the induction ceremony as well. It's going to be a great time in Waterloo, Iowa. And if you get the opportunity, I mean, again, it's something that you definitely would not regret doing. And again, like I said, for more information, you check out the Tragos Thez Hall of Fame on Facebook. You can get information there, or you can also contact them via the web or by phone. I can tell you right now, I'm looking forward to this. I know my broadcast colleague, true story, Justin, as you're taking care of things here.
What's a true story? No, I'm trying to look
true story. True story. Yeah, true story. When we had our meeting on Sunday, my broadcast colleague and I, Chris Rodell, had an opportunity. We met for about 2 hours. We had our meeting, one of our longer meetings that we've had. Rodell and I spent close to 2 hours doing research about the Hall of Fame and some of these inductees that are going to be there. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're just trying to prepare as best we can, because this is going to be a memorable experience. And you know something? I think I've got a new goal. I know that we've had him on the program before, but hopefully before the Hall of Fame, we can get, and I want to tell you right now, because he was a great guest. I had an opportunity to meet him at the CAC, and the man's got a killer fashion sense. I'm hoping we can get the incomparable, I can't put enough adjectives to it, the one, the only Rock Riddle back on the program. The man is outstanding. I hope we can have him back on the program. As a matter of fact, any of the guests we're going to have are going to be great. We're going to have the Wrestle Talk podcast at the Wrestling Hall of Fame. You know something, Justin? Next week, we're going to be talking all things for Forbidden Door. We're going to be talking about Money in the Bank. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. Again, for more information, WrestleTalkPodcast.com. You can also check us out on all forms of social media as well as on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us this week. Ladies and gentlemen, For Justin Wade, this is Luke Roberts. We want to thank you for tuning into the Wrestle Talk podcast, and we'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast.